plasma bag. Tom Hanks plasma bag. Tom Hanks plasma bag. Just one loose and a hanging shot. Just your side, because in bad. But on the same time, brighter can't be bad. Lost gloves, missing shoes. Mazes and monsters. Dragnet, turning fools. He's that man with the one red shoe. Tom Hanks passed the bag. Who's more loose than a hanging shot? Just your side, because in that. But on the same time, brighter can't be bad. Angels and demons, which one are you? You lady killer, that thing you do. Pictures of missing gloves and lost shoes. What's up with all the gloves and shoes? Tom Hanks plasma bag. Who's more loose than a hanging shot? Just your side, because in that. But on the same time, brighter can't be bad. That's right, it's Tom Hanks plasma bag. Plasma bag. No who's more loose than a hanging shot. Just tidy, equals that. But on the same time, brighter can't be bad. Oh, it's bad. That's right, it's Tom Hanks plasma bag. But just
energy. Ain't nobody wanna step to me. If you wanna bring that drama, I'll whoop that ass like Michael Obama. Yeah, I got that big D energy. Ain't nobody wanna step to me. And if you really wanna bring that drama, I'll whoop that ass like Michael Obama.
No, Michelle is a
I'm sorry, she's a what?
transgender. We all know.
Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh. It's okay.
I whip that beat out like Michael Obama.
We already have it with
I got that
Obama.
big
So
energy.
let's just calm down.
Nobody wanna step to me.
No.
And if you really wanna bring that drama, I whip that ass like Michael Obama. I'm a girl, 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 I'm a whip them thing out like Michael Obama. I got that big energy. Ain't nobody wanna step like me. And if you really wanna bring that drama, I whip that ass like Michael Obama. Ain't got that clit, bitch. Hung like a llama. I whip that dick out like Michael Obama.
Conspiracy about Stanley Kubrick, moon landings, and the CIA? Go visit nasacomic.com.
Now NASAcomic.com, CIA's biggest con. Stanley Kubrick put us on, that's why we're singing this song. I'm NASAcomic.com, go visit NASAcomic.com. Go visit NASAcomic.com. Yeah, go visit NASAcomic.com. Oh, NASAcomic.com, CIA's biggest con. Stanley Kubrick put us on, that's why we're singing this song. I'm NASAcomic.com, go visit NASAcomic.com. Go visit NASAcomic.com. Yeah, go visit NASAcomic.com.
Never a Straight Answer is a 40-page comic about Stanley Kubrick directing the Apollo space missions.
Yeah, go visit NASAcomic.com.
This is the perfect read for comic, Kubrick, or conspiracy fans of all ages. For more details, visit nasacomic.com.
You ever wonder if maybe Kennedy wasn't shot at all? Some theories claim that Kennedy had unprecedented access to the FBI, CIA, and Vatican archives, all thanks to him being the first Catholic president of the United States and all. During a moment of deep contemplation on a Friday afternoon in Dallas, Texas, Kennedy reached total enlightenment, causing his pineal gland to explode. But if you ask this skeptic, it wasn't enlightenment that this president was trying to achieve.
Britney Spears? Can we be saved? God, why is Satan controlling the universe?
Used to think we knew was constantly explore the view of possibilities come true. So what we do is call out to the good guys. Good guys, good guys, good guys. Witches, weirdos, mega mistakes, entertaining, calling linguists. Good guys. Forum of decorum needs a secretive society to advance on philosophies intentionally, magically good guys, good guys, good guys, good guys. Witches, weirdos, mischief making. It's okay to change your thinking. Good guys. Good guys, good guys.
Big up yourself. Brap, brap, brap. Welcome to another episode of the Secret Society of Good Guys. As always, we are your good guys. So if you're finding us anywhere because the technology overlords don't like us very much, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and tell a friend because it does help us with the algorithm. So if you want to help fight against global warming, you help us with the algorithm. So tonight on the Secret Society of Good Guys, it's been a while since we've had a new initiation. Jim
Yeah.
Maiden.
Hey,
welcome.
everybody.
What
We
up?
need
What
like
up?
We need like a bell of some sort. Call him in. All to order. Jim
Ding,
Maiden,
ding,
hear ye.
ding, 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 Oh,
we go.
perfect.
Thank you.
So welcome. It was kind of impromptu. One of the things, and the good guys have all heard about it, and we're going to talk about all of us for a second too but Thomas and I geek out about Howard Hughes, and then we were just randomly talking about the magnetic poles, and then I brought up my Spruce Goose theory to Jim, and he was like, "This has been plaguing me." I'm like, "Come on the show, let's scratch the surface with the Howard Hughes thing, talk about the magnetic poles, and get all into it and geek out, and wherever the conversation may good guy." But before we do all that, how was your guys' week? Anything weird? How's the energy?
Everything's
You
weird.
mean is the week over already?
Oh, almost.
Well, the weekend. Now it's about
Yeah.
to be a weekend. I know people don't
Yeah.
like that words when they're all talking about grand rising, but
Uh,
they're like, it's the weekend. They want you to be weak.
it's been a week, you know, like any other week.
It was a week.
Yeah, it's just a week.
Weak. Remember when
Yeah.
people used to say that just randomly? Like if you did something, they'd be like, weak.
So
Mad week.
Yeah,
Oof.
bad week.
Mad week.
That's
I got my
funny.
CPAP machine, so I'm excited. I get to try it out tonight and sleep good.
Oh,
maybe.
that's not. It might take a couple
Oh.
nights to
Good
get
for your
used to.
sleep
Do you
apnea,
sleep on your
right?
back?
Yeah, it took a month, but I finally got it. So
So all of you
Nice.
guys out there, fairy tailing about sleeping next to Abby. She just got her CPAP.
It's
But
very
we
sexy
all,
too. They're all.
it'll be the sexiest CPAP you've ever seen.
They should have like a
Right.
Victoria's Secret CPAP collection.
That I
I
mean,
thought about finding some
Got the
lingerie
lace
and taking
on
some
it.
pictures of it.
With a big old tube coming out, like Elephant Man. That's awesome.
Tube comes off the top of your head, actually, so that way you can like side sleep.
Oh,
you
really?
you got fancy one. You have
I
fancy
know.
CPAP.
I'm excited.
Woo! It goes out your head. Hey, have
I
you seen
feel
that?
like somewhere our show just took our demographic just jumped 10 years, like somewhere like the saying CPAP on
Right.
YouTube long enough, like all of a sudden we hit the For You page for like people with statin drugs and stuff. Like
Period. Welcome.
They're up early planning
this
for that
show
early
ain't for
bird
kids.
breakfast.
All right. This show ain't for kids.
it ain't for kids.
Nah.
It could take
Definitely
a
not.
hard turn to the left. You might think we're just
At
talking
any second.
Any second, it'll fly
Just-
off the rails. It's
Yep.
like, what is that Palestine, Ohio train? That's about how much control we have here.
Yeah.
We're like, yeah, I don't even know where those barge hit. I was about to make some other clever joke, and then I'm like, I don't know enough about those things, so that fell flat. I watched The Whale last night. I will say,
The Whale with Brendan Fraser.
yes,
I haven't
Okay.
watched it.
I fell asleep before it ended, and then I woke up, and the first thing I said was, "Did he die?" I won't tell you anything.
I think
That's-
he's transcended.
Okay. I want to tell anyone that hasn't seen this movie, because I feel like me and my
I don't
Maria
care.
were
Yeah.
talking about it today, and we feel like the movie I'm about to bring up is somehow a weird
Oh,
staple
I
movie.
saw it. I know what
It's-
you're talking about.
Is somehow a weird staple movie for all of us. So we all kind of grew up with Requiem for a Dream. This like movie haunting us a little bit in our head, maybe around the time we all started to smoke weed. And so you watch Requiem for a Dream. Hauntingly, the worst part of Requiem for a Dream is the old woman with the refrigerator. It's like worse than seeing the heroin gangrene arm is that watching this woman in her talk show and her eating like obsession. That's what I felt like The Whale was. It was the entire movie of watching the old lady with the food obsession struggle, and it just was worse than that. It was just a painful fucking movie to watch.
I don't want to watch it then.
Yeah. I've been watching
Dude.
that.
I
in
think
real life.
Requiem is still harder to watch. The old lady is still harder to watch than Brendan Fraser.
The old lady.
Yeah. I've been so picky with what I watch and listen to. Even music. I'm choosing to listen to music without lyrics. Like I don't want the control of my
Hey,
emotions.
hey,
Like
hey! But your
you know?
music though, without lyrics, I will say, Albanian music without lyrics is so fun. Like if you
Yeah,
guys haven't
it
heard
really
it
is.
yet, it
Oh
is
yeah.
so
Here's
fun.
the thing. What is
Well,
the
I
thing
don't
with
even listen to
Albanian?
Albanian. It's just mainly techno.
With Albanian pop
No, you
music?
played
What is
some
their
Albanian
obsession?
music for me and Abby in the car,
Oh yeah, I did.
and it was like,
Yeah, I did.
yay, 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 yay!
Yeah.
Like it was fun.
It's a little upbeat stuff, talking about like love and good stuff,
Shooting
and then
people.
sometimes not. That's the gangster shit that they have, and I don't listen to it. It's like men suck. Like Albanian rap, like the majority of them suck. There's probably like 2 or 3 that are like really, really good, that are
We should get
known,
'em
and they're
on.
really good.
We should get
Lyrical
like the top
Sun.
Albanian rappers on here.
I think Lyrical Sun is number 1. He got some flow. He got the verbiage. He's great. But anyway, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
What else? Anything, Abby? You have your one last show of transurfing.
Yep, Tuesday night.
Oh, you're almost done. Wow.
Nice.
And of course, it's like a 2.5
Wow.
hour chapter. I have some homework for it.
You loving
It's
it?
a lot of
Are
work.
you loving it? Yeah, it is more work to break down a book than you think it is.
Yeah, it is. It's
Hey
a lot
Riggs, now
It
that you
is,
say
even though
that,
I
he
know
does.
it, but
He looks like Action Bronson a little bit. Yeah, because Action Bronson, he's an Albanian Jew.
What is an Albanian Jew rap about?
He's nasty. He's really great. He's from Brooklyn. He's really, really good. I don't know. He raps about food, whatever, incidents, raps, whatever. Life.
He MCs.
Hmm
He raps. He
Yeah,
raps.
he's good
Cooking
though.
show for a while too, I think.
Huh?
Did he have like a cooking show?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's
Smoking
his name? I'm
high.
gonna pull him
Oh,
up.
that's
Action
that guy. I know who
Bronson.
that is. Yeah, he had like a weed cooking show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna
I
pull
think
him up.
everything he does just becomes a weed, whatever the thing is that he's doing.
I
Yeah,
don't
he used to be
know.
a chef.
That's
I
his
don't
brand.
think he's as cute.
He doesn't
as
look
Thomas.
no. But like what's his name in the chat was like, oh, Thomas looks like an Albanian rapper. I was like, yeah, you could say that. First person I thought of was Action Bronson. It's like this big teddy bear.
He's like an Irish to me, if I just saw him on the street, I'd be like, Thomas, I
Mhm.
saw an Irish version of you.
Technically, I'm Slovenian.
But then
if
it
we're
wasn't
going
even.
Eastern European.
Anian. You're an Albanian, Slovenian, Anian.
I love it. My
Is it
son
all,
is
is it all
too.
the same, or is it pretty
I
different?
think,
Did I
bro,
get
like
jumped for saying that, for
Slovenian
implying
is
that
like
Slovenians were the same?
Czechoslovakia.
I don't know if my bloodline is 100% pure, but I know I'm Albanian. But like back in the day, like we don't know what the fuck happened and like how bloodlines mixed and with Slavs and the Illyrians and the what are they called, the Mongolians, and they all came through that area. Everybody, it was like a port, like a shipping port, like everything went through there. So I don't know. Ain't
I feel like we were talking about it maybe in the After Spiders chat with Ben a little bit. Were we like kind of getting to like the mongrels were pretty sovereign?
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
Like they were like a sovereign people.
they were their own dudes.
Yeah, like we're told they're like, oh, they're warlords or this, that, and whatever. But really, it was just there was a time that freedom existed on a majority of the planet.
Yeah.
And maybe,
And
you know how they say most of us have the bloodline of that in us? Maybe that's what shoots through us all, that little bit of liberty that we don't know where it comes from, that we think we deserve some kind of freedom. Maybe it's our mongrel.
mm,
So are they
Could
developing
be.
a drug to get rid of that soon?
Yeah, to get rid of my jihad. That's what my football team used to be called. My fantasy football team would be called Lesbian Jihad.
oh my
I
god,
like
that's
it.
dope.
Because it seems so ridiculous, a lesbian holy war.
I
Like it
love
just
it.
seems like so many juxtapositions of gay-tarded. I can't wait till the
Mongols.
censor learns gay-tarded.
Heathen. But isn't a heathen a sovereign? Isn't that what it is initially? Like, people who just lived off the land. They just called them like
I
barbarians,
think the heathens
heathens.
were sovereign too.
Yeah.
I think so.
It's like one and the same almost, no?
I know. It's almost like heathen, because somebody would be like, look at this heathen and put it
Mhm.
down when really we should big up that sovereignty. Like when they
Yeah.
call a kid a heathen, like, look at this little heathen. We should be like, I like his sovereignty.
I
We
like
should
that.
break that word from being used in that kind of manner.
Yeah. And do it in the like, ooh, warrior over here.
Yeah.
Uh,
Thank goodness for these kind. This is going to save our tribe one day.
This is when like the little heathen kids are misbehaving and they're like, "You're driving me crazy," and they say like, "No, we're not driving, we're traveling."
Yeah. You were one of those dicks, weren't you, Thomas?
Oh, I know Thomas was.
little-
Yeah,
little
I'm driving me
sovereign
crazy. He
citizen.
said shit like short trip. Or he'd say even a more annoying shit. I don't even see your car. Like you're driving me up a wall. That's crazy. You break gravity to drive up the wall.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Look at that. Just annoyed Abby as a mom.
It did because I'm like, I know those get well as a teacher maybe because my kids weren't necessarily like that, but I taught school, so there's some of those.
That is Thomas. I can tell.
There's always a couple of them.
There's always
There
a couple of
is.
those. So to start this, because I was thinking of magnetic north, isn't true north like your personal true north? Like we can all debate about a compass, but really a compass is just the object. They decided that all this metal is pointing toward this magnetic north. It doesn't matter that they put an N here and an S here and a W here, and we can decide those are directions, but we could call them banana if we wanted to. The only thing that really matters about that circle is that 1 point points north.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
So it's
But
just
north
crazy
to me always
I feel like there was a yell from inside my house. Carry on, but I have to check on it.
yeah. North when I think north sometimes I like to think of it as like up instead of it being like a certain direction because that's what I think of north as up.
Yeah.
Like
Up on the
it-
globe.
yeah. Yeah. So but
The globe model.
it's like up in front of me direction, not in like it's in an angle. It's at a different angle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this way it's just going straight, but to what we think they call it north, but I like to think of north as up.
But wouldn't that just make it spin?
Yeah, but that's globe theory.
But
Like
if the magnet was up at all, wouldn't that just make a flat thing in your hand that was metal pointed spin?
But how is up a center? Like if it's a center, how is that up?
I'm lost.
I don't know what
Wait,
I don't
what?
know what you did, Layla.
Yeah, but like
I
the
feel like you
center,
just did a
like
spell
you're
on
going
us.
to like you're going to a center of something, but like we're even on the globe, like we're trying to find a center of something. So it's like, how is it up going north if you're just finding the center of the north? Like I don't even get it. It's just it doesn't make sense to me. Like I just think of it as up instead of like so it's
Your
center.
up and my up are different ups because we're
Yeah.
standing in different places. So your up is that way and my up would be
You're up.
that
Oh my God, you're up.
way.
You're
You're up.
I'm not stoned enough for this conversation.
I'm
yet.
gonna shut the fuck up. I think I,
know.
just smoked
I feel
too
like
much.
we might have to play one video, all hit a concentrate, and then come back and try. No, I'm just
Because I don't know what shape we're looking at. Are we looking at it as a globe or are
Okay,
we
but-
looking at as a flat Earth model?
no, but it doesn't
I
matter.
have to get
Either
way
or.
higher for flat Earth.
Yeah, well, either or.
We'll have to
I don't
go-
think
we'll
the
have
shape
to-
of the Earth necessarily has to do anything to do with a magnetic.
Yeah,
North.
it's just observable reality. Is
Okay.
You point a magnet technically it's that way,
Yeah, well, all of us have a different. Like, if we all held a compass in our hand,
but it's about perception, right?
and you took all the other things off of it, and we all just started walking.
And
And
following
just
that.
followed our thing, we're all eventually going
It's
to end
the-
up at the same spot. And if
Exactly.
we get to true north on the map, that's when the compass is supposed to spin.
like
Yeah.
nonstop. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Because it can't, there's no more north to go. There's nothing. So that makes me think either something's above it or something's below it. And so then in this theory that if there is a hollow earth and a true magnet, that I think that Howard Hughes, that is what he made the spruce goose for. It would have been the only thing to fly past a magnet. It was a wooden airplane. So it would have been the only thing to fly past a magnet and not totally get thrown out of course. So anything that you ever hear about center to the hollow earth or center to the journey of the earth or anything, there's always this thing. It's always planes. It's never boats. And so it just makes me wonder, this is where this whole thing came up, a wooden airplane. Why a wooden airplane? Why would he have done such a big wooden airplane? Because they were trying to get into there and bring stuff, is my theory.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a lot
Jim,
of
did he-
airplanes are aluminum, and people think that's non-magnetic, but aluminum is actually paramagnetic, so it does react to a magnetic field. And what it does is, aluminum is it has magnetic induction. When it goes through a magnetic field, electrons pass through it, and there's resistance. So an aluminum airplane flying right over the top of a pole, a magnetic pole, there'd be this magnetic braking effect where it would slow down. It wouldn't go flying through. It would get all choppy and maybe like
Airplanes falling out of the sky.
fall out of the sky. Yeah. Pretty
So I have this theory that Howard Hughes built this plane and they mocked it. And they mocked it because they already decided they were going to go ahead without him. And so they mocked his big wooden plane, stole his technology, and then it became a Pentagon thing underground. They cut Howard Hughes out of it in the private sector. And that's where you start getting mockings and like he gets kidnapped, he gets demonized, he's made look like a crazy person. But I think it's way bigger than just him owning Hollywood. I think it's a huge secret that they have to make him look crazy about. And I think it's something like Hollow Earth. I think he had the like his aeronautics, everything they teach you about aeronautics is the same stuff that will help you get to deep sea. It's the same pressure, it's the same shapes, it's the same. So it's just curious to me of how brilliant he was. He was a real Tesla. Elon's a suit put in front of people to make it look like he's smart.
Yeah.
He didn't ever figure out anything. He's just a stolen technology on top of stolen technology. Howard Hughes was like a Nikola Tesla, where he actually, the way he saw aeronautics and planes was an entirely different thing. He changed the game all over the world. Still, I think they probably still are using some of his designs that they just didn't have the materials for, but we wouldn't know about it. They would just
yeah,
steal his
a lot of
books
our
and make them look
designs
crazy.
came from Hughes. Hughes owned a lot of Tucson. When I was a kid, my uncle worked for Hughes Missile Systems, and the place I used to live, my first house, was in this place called Rita Ranch. Well, when Howard Hughes lived here, he had set up a ranch in this area way out southeast of Tucson. And when he left, he had it demolished, and then he called it Rita Ranch after Rita Hayworth. Apparently, they had it demolished, and it turned into housing development. But apparently, Rita Ranch, where I used to live, was named by Howard Hughes. Everything around here has Hughes' name on it. But that was the start of the military-industrial complex taking over, settling in Tucson.
I don't know much about Hughes, honestly. I'm learning a lot tonight. I never went down the Hughes rabbit hole, or maybe I did and just.
I don't think a lot of people have. I don't think a lot of people have at all. I think this is like one of those untapped things in conspiracy that more people need to go down. But there's so much American history that the rewrite of the history shown in the movie is where the power lies. The second people think they know the thing and they don't look deeper, then they're like, I seen the aviator.
Yeah, that's how they rewrite history.
I started
Howard
looking
Hughes
him
to
up.
me for the longest time was just the guy that kept his fingernails and his urine inside of jars, and then he like flew a plane once. Like that was
Put
the
his
most I knew
feet in-
about it for the longest time.
Hey, Phil.
Hey, Phil.
How's it going?
What's going on?
Philip
too
wanted to
much, not
swing
too
through
much.
for a little bit tonight because he also, always has crazy facts and stuff about Howard Hughes, about everything. But
Yeah.
when I brought up Howard Hughes to him time and time again, he always tells me a new thing that kind of blows my mind. So I'm sure he told me something today that I was like, "What?"
Welcome to the Secret Society
Yeah.
of Good Guys.
So welcome back, Philip.
Thank you. Yeah, about 50 years ago, Hughes's headquarters in LA was broken into, and it was literally like only like a day or so ago, 50 years ago, and they got a hold of Hughes's memos and just a huge amount of information, and a lot of it would deal with his correspondence with Robert Mayhew, who is his kind of like his chief of staff. And even though he never actually met, and Robert Mayhew was former FBI, CIA connected, he was the go-between for the plot to kill Castro with the mafia, and he's also been named as possibly being involved with Bobby Kennedy's assassination.
Mm-hmm.
And they also found Hughes's correspondence with LBJ and Nixon to try to get the atomic bomb testing that they were doing in Vegas canceled, because he was frightened of it. Like, it was literally like, people see it as a tourist thing, they'd be on the strip and seeing the flashes, and, because I think it was not like an Area 51 area, but I guess like a proving ground, not that far outside of Vegas. But he was like, yeah, no, the rumbling, the flashing lights scare him, and at that point he was holed up in the penthouse of the Desert Inn, which at that point he had bought kind of on a whim. And he had his money from selling TWA. He had to divest his interest. He had, I think the exact total was 547 million.
Damn.
Back then.
1966.
That's crazy.
He came in on I believe on a train to Vegas, Thanksgiving 1966. He'd be there for 4 years, and he had to put that money to use, or he would have had to pay the capital gains tax on that amount of money. And then he started buying the casinos. The Desert Inn was the first one, and then it would kind of go on, and then eventually they'd block him from buying the Stardust. And there's the whole myth that, when Hughes came in, he kicked the mob out of Vegas, but turns out the guys who were there the day before he came in were there the day he left. It's the same guys. They were skimming the entire operation. He wound up, taking a bath when he was in Vegas, and then he left, fired Mayhew, and then he left with the Mormon contingent.
What about the Mormons?
He had Mormon bodyguards. He would only get blood transfusions from Mormons because he believed that Mormons had pure blood. Hughes was a little bit of a, yeah.
Was this a religious blood thing, or is it because they didn't drink coffee and drink soda and stuff?
Well, in Hughes's case is because I believe he was a racist. That's part of it. He
needed that white and delightsome blood.
Yeah, he didn't want African American blood, but meanwhile, it's like the Mormons might have killed him. And that's if we don't maybe consider the gemstone file, which is the conspiracy theory that Aristotle Onasis kidnapped Hughes and took over his identity at some point in the 50s. Because no one really saw Hughes for the better part of 20 years. He surfaces, the next time anyone actually sees him is when he dies.
It's so
mid-flight.
wild you said Onasis, because when I was trying to compare him today, when I bring up Elon Musk or Tesla, Aristotle Onasis is the other dude I bring up to compare Hughes to, of how he was richer than a country. He was more powerful with more knowledge than a country. And that is kind of an Aristotle Onasis, which ends up being Jackie O's later husband, who was her sister's boyfriend, which makes me come on, you guys, these are red sparrows here. Something else is going on, either red sparrows or just perfect spies. But whatever way you cut it, any of the publishing, they are publishing, what do they call it, magnates or something, they have a specific word for it. It's also Robert Maxwell.
Yep. Yeah, no, with Hughes, I mean, so one of the ones I have, Citizen Hughes, was based on the memos. The author of this book got a lot of the memos from like just this secret source. And, Hughes, I mean, definitely eccentric, but definitely brilliant. I mean, you can watch The Aviator, and when he tries to make Hell's Angels, and I think, what was it, 4 years to make that movie, and waiting for the perfect cloud formation, and
Oh yeah.
that whole aspect to it, and then reshooting it for sound and mortgaging Hughes Tool Company, even though it could have bankrupted him. I mean, he was a guy who bet on himself and won, a lot.
Where did his parents' money come from?
I think it was from that. It was these drill bits in Texas.
Okay.
He was Texas
Oh
born.
yeah, the drill bits,
Yeah.
and that's why
Yeah.
he was a bore into Hollow Earth.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
why
and-
they even hit him up to begin with to start digging the holes, is because his family knew about drill bits. So he is like Elon. He's shooting rockets
See?
into space and has boring.
Well, they
Man,
also there's the
so much mining around Tucson, so much boring. And there's tunnels all over Tucson.
they had a project that they found out in the 70s to dredge up. I think it was a Russian sub.
Azorian,
And-
that was the name of that
yeah,
project.
and it was or the Jennifer Project was the other name. Yeah, and it was the Hughes's Glomar Explorer they used, but it was very like, hush hush or whatnot. But then again, the 70s was the year a lot of those post Watergate
Yeah,
revelations.
in your opinion, how true is that? Because the cover story, as I believe it, was that they were trying to recover like an old U-boat or some sort of like a submarine, and
Yeah.
that they didn't want to disclose that they had the ability essentially to go underwater and just envelop another submarine, which would have been somewhat advanced technology. Because now you can just make a submarine disappear by kind of like swallowing it whole and moving it somewhere else. But I guess my impression from reading into it was that was the cover story, and what they were really doing was finding the lowest point in the ocean floor that they could get to, because they wanted to drill down as far as they could. Because right now, like, aside from this, the deepest anyone's ever drilled was also in Russia, where they found a crater and they drilled down into the crater. But this is an example where they found an even lower spot and potentially drilled. But since the cover story says nothing about drilling and everything about just encapsulating this like sunken enemy boat, that, like, I don't know, is the cover story the real story in your opinion?
I mean, you're talking the 70s, you're talking Mockingbird, media, enough CIA embedded sources in the media. It's probably a cover story, if anything else. I mean, and it was the height of the Cold War. You can use anything to say it's, a Soviet sub, but maybe a cover for something else in the long run. And let's face it, Howard Hughes was used as a cover, I think, for a lot of different, things. And again, like, Chaney was saying with the whole, the spruce goose, which Hughes hated. It was, he would yell, be like, it's the Hercules. Well, yeah, and they also give you a huge contract, the story goes, and that's all he produced was one plane during that entire.
And it only had one flight, right?
One flight, but just to prove that it could, because he promised.
It's a weird story, man.
He'd leave the country, and he might have went through with it, as opposed to everybody who says they'll leave the country if Trump wins. So I mean, I think he would have stood by it.
Like they're really going to do that.
Dream.
I think they need to make that an oral contract. You say you're leaving if he wins. Go ahead.
Bye.
Tom Hanks, Alec Baldwin. Okay, we're fine without you.
Any of them, even the people without
Oh my
names.
God! Could you imagine if that's what the rapture would have been? Like, if those are the people that had to be raptured or disappeared.
We're going to Canada, you guys. I had somebody tell me in real life today that they thought Bill Gates was a great man.
That cracked me up when I saw that.
I really
What?
I had to just a person in the everyday said two
Don't the
things
people in
happened
the
today.
everyday just disappoint you every day?
I was just like, what? And they were like, well, how could you not think he was a good man? And I'm like, because everywhere he goes, people die.
Pretty much.
I'm like, it was too far away for me to even talk sense. I was just like so far gone. Like, I got to go back to doing my job. And then I saw people in my lobby today get into like a debate about stuff we're not allowed to talk about on this channel or we get pulled down. But they got into a debate about all Dr. Fauci and
you can't
stuff,
say
and
it.
it got so heated that I was like, Chaney, don't get involved. Chaney, don't get involved. Like, I'm at work and I'm watching it get heated, but I was really impressed with the person who hated Dr. Fauci. I just like to say it this way, that hated everything that he stood for, that they kept their words together. They kept their cool. I was like, big up ya, like big up yourself. But I was like, whoo, it was like an energy shift where I'm like, oh, people are, it's like the silent majority isn't staying silent anymore. And I don't think the people that have been walking around and having their social media where they were like, yeah, look at these 10 bots that have my back. Those bots aren't there anymore. And all and like, so it's like in real life, it's making the balance of the people that they're like, no, I have friends that agree with me now. So they'll speak up. So I feel like this world that the liberals got to walk around in for like with the pink pussy hat mentality, I think it is far over and they are having a shock. Like that everyone's like when somebody's like, oh my God, this is my grandkid, I hope they're trans, people are actually going, gross. Like that is how we're, instead of, oh, that's fantastic, like we're like having to placate. I feel like people aren't placating anymore. And it was
No,
nice
they're
to
not.
see somebody
They
else
shouldn't
that
be.
wasn't me.
Kind of
I
like the
love it.
whole. I won't even get into it because we'll get in trouble. But kind of like the whole, like, have you seen the new round of little vials that are coming out that the CDC is pushing?
This is what I will say.
What is
If they're
this?
telling you anything, avian flu, mad cow,
Oh
any of
yeah,
that, that just
bullshit.
means your grocery store prices are about to go up because they want you to eat that Bill Gates meat. And
Yeah.
anytime you see new form of blank coming, I don't care if it's a cancer, I don't care if it's a sexually transmitted disease, I don't care if it's CTE. That is just a side effect of the stuff we're not allowed to talk about, or we're going to get taken off this channel.
And seriously, if you're stupid enough to put that shit in your body now, like you survived the last one, you're lucky. You know, come on, please.
Any of them, but we don't have to do that and talk about that stuff.
No,
I did
we'll change the
see
subject.
maybe it was Riggs that talked about it, but he said in Florida that his north is like 5 degrees difference than true Polaris. But I was wondering if that's because we spend too much time looking up at the star when Polaris wasn't even the star that was there. You know, Thuban was there before, and will Thuban come back as the North Star, or will it be a different North Star? Like Polaris is just the one now, but that's not the one that's always been there. So it, you know.
I don't know.
Oh, weird, because I was actually just watching PK's episode of Vibrant, and he gets into the whole like sidereal versus tropical, and he really gets
Maybe
into
it was PK that said it.
Yeah,
Maybe I said Riggs, but maybe it was PK. Shout
it's
out to
probably
PK.
PK.
It was so far back in the thing. Go on. Say what you say about what you were gonna say, Abby.
He really gets into what is the ecliptic, you know, the 4 minutes on the like sidereal day versus the regular day, and how it all works. Like he breaks it down so well that it's really understandable. So I'm not sure if you're on there, you should totally plug that episode.
And
So what's
then
interesting
go
about
on, go Jim.
about magnets is so it says north, and your compass says north, but it points up to the North Pole, but the North Pole is actually the south magnetic pole, because you know if you put a magnet together, north points to south. So actually, it's really flipped. The
I have a question.
South pole's in the northern hemisphere.
If we're going by their ball model, and they're saying we have a ball of molten lava in the center, and it's like 360 degrees, and you have all points of like pressure and magnetism, how could there be a North Pole? Like that concept on a ball when you have 360 degrees of like pressure inside.
You can still have a ball and not have that kind of core idea. Like
Yeah, but how they
we don't
feed it.
necessarily know that it has an iron core either.
That's what I'm saying. So like this idea of like you know, the 360, we live on a ball, but you have this molten magnetic energy that is going, you know, equally throughout the, you know, throughout the world to keep things in balance. How could there be like an actual north? Like it can't, it doesn't make sense on the ball, but when you go on it on the flat earth model, you have that center and you have that energy field there. What is that north energy pole that pulls the compass in that direction? Like what could it be? Because that other idea doesn't make sense to me.
Well,
Of
the
it
Toroidal
like
model goes off of a geomagnetic sphere, so it's got like like Gordy was kind of describing. It's like
Torsion.
an apple. If you look at the way an apple's got the core and like the bottom part, it's basically emitting. It's creating like an electromagnetic field, and that's what kind of generates what the true north comes from. So if there were like a pole swap, then that should, in theory, affect compasses too, I believe.
I don't know.
Like picture
Like
an
how did it
apple.
pick that point? How did it like pick that point? You know, like that makes no
only-
sense. Like where did that point come from? You know,
But that point
it just
moves sometimes.
that's what they tell us. Like I want
Well,
us
you
to
can-
think like outside a little bit on this. You know, it's like, does it make sense?
Do you
Like
know
when
why
you're
they think that though?
in the force of like magnetism, if it's a 360 ball, like a magnet, when you take a magnet that's a ball, it has equal pressure all the way around it besides the center of it. So like, I don't know.
Well, the magnetic field lines run forwards and backwards, up and down, in and out in a counter rotating pattern. Like the skin of an apple goes up to where the core is, you know, where the stem comes out.
Yeah.
North side, and then the bottom of the apple is the south pole.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of plants grow in the shape of a magnetic field. You know, like a sunflower also does that. The shape of the sunflower seeds, how they're counter rotating. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess their version makes sense in that aspect. But then we have the picture of, you know, that Chaney posted as a thumbnail for this episode. We have like that center with Mount Meru with the 4 dividing, you know, points of river, whatever that is. We have that story too.
That's what it's. I don't know. That's where, whether it's globe or flat, I can see the hollow regardless. That's where I can't get
Yeah,
away from it.
I know,
Where the
huh?
debate of like the shape of the earth and space outside it means nothing to me. I'm like, it's all about the hollow earth. They always want us to look up. They always want us to look out. They always want us to look down. They always want to, but never in. And it's just, when I was a kid, I remember digging 2 feet in the ground and my grandparents saying, "What are you digging to China? Why? Why? What was going on under their feet in history that they made them forget about it?"
Yeah.
I just think there's a lot more lore to the underground world, and they're trying to make us forget it. They're trying to force us to be surface dwellers somewhere. I don't know why. Like, I don't know if there's a hollow sun. I don't know if we're supposed to be out here. Maybe this sun ages us. Maybe this is the false, like a second sun, like a false sun. Like, I don't, but there does
Wouldn't that
seem
be like the Antichrist if we were all like worshiping
Ooh.
like the wrong physical
Sun
sun
worship?
and thought that was the source of all energy?
Wow, that's a good point. Because everything is sun worship, right? Like almost every single religion.
Right, and
more or
maybe
less
sun
boils
worship
down
is
to
the
it.
right religion, but we're
Right.
worshiping the wrong sun.
We're worshiping the Antichrist. Yeah.
Can I just throw in two quick points?
Love it.
You were talking about Polaris, right? And that's the name of a missile. I know that they have a Polaris missile. So part of me always wonders about that, if there's any sort of weirdness with that. And just a random humorous thing, we keep talking about North, and all I can think about is the worst movie of all time with Elijah Wood that Rob Reiner directed.
Oh,
called
come
North.
on. That's not a horrible movie.
Wait,
It
which
is
movie?
a horrible movie. North.
I liked it.
Oh.
I was
It's
the
I
the
haven't
one.
seen it.
It's the one where when they did later on, it's a kid who divorces his parents, and it was like an all-star cast, and he winds up like basically living with different parents all over the world and whatnot. And
He
Bruce
like
Willis
dates
is
them.
like his
It's like
guardian
it's like a
angel.
blind date show, but it's
Yeah.
like a child
Oh,
dating
okay.
adults.
And it had, so the late Roger Ebert from Siskel and Ebert like read a whole thing where it was like, I hated this movie. Hated this movie. They made Rob Reiner read it at his Comedy Central, the Friars Club roast. And then he's like, later on, he's like, if you read between the lines, it's not a bad review. I'm like, he used the word hated over a dozen times to describe how shitty the movie was.
Rob Reiner is one of those people that the lady dost protest too much, and I'm like, he is on my pedo list. I don't. It's just he creeps me out. He's on my pedo list. I'm gonna
Heather
say it, Rob
O'Rourke.
Reiner. If you consider it slander, please sue me.
You know who calls Rob Reiner out with the Heather O'Rourke thing is Anthony Cumia from Opie and Anthony all the time.
Interesting.
He says anytime Rob Reiner comes on, he's like Heather O'Rourke, and I was like, Jesus. I mean, that's it's bold,
Shout
but
out
he
to
doesn't mind
Anthony
saying it.
Cumia.
And Elijah Wood. Don't forget, later on, he went out and called about how his parents kept him away from certain elements. in
Elijah Wood
Hollywood.
on the timeline. That's the second time his name has come up in my zeitgeist today. How wild. Elijah Wood. What a little cutie. But I was talking about the band Gorgo Bordello. So if you guys have never listened to this gypsy punk band, they are, if they're ever around you, even if you've never heard of them, go see them live. They are the best live show I've ever seen. There's so much energy that comes off the stage. They have this chick that goes around on a bass drum and just like bangs the drum while she's crowd surfing. That girl is Elijah Wood's girlfriend. They could be married now. I don't know. They've been together for 1,000 years. But it's just weird because I would always see him at these shows. And it's just like, oh, Elijah Wood's a real one. He likes gypsy punk rock music. So I told somebody that today about Elijah Wood and what are the chances he comes up again with North, a movie that I don't even have in my zeitgeist.
Neither do I, actually.
And you know who had a cameo in North? Mrs. Tom
Trump.
Hanks, Rita Wilson.
Of course.
There was a lot of people. That was
Rita.
actually like a star-studded movie.
Oh God, yeah.
Okay,
Rita
so
Wilson.
I was researching Howard Hughes today, and I decided to ask like AI about it, because I read this article. It was Howard Hughes or HughesHistoric.com or whatever, and it talked about his first movie wasn't a hit. His second one was called Everybody's Acting. So I wanted to know more about it. So I asked like Claude AI about it. I was like, can you tell me more about this movie? And it tells me, unfortunately, there does not seem to be a movie called Everybody's Acting produced by Howard Hughes. And then it goes on and tells me like 4 of his mainstream popular movies. And then I tell it, no, that's not correct. Everybody's Acting was Hughes' second film. His first film was Swell Hogan. That was the name of his first film. And then it goes on to say, I don't have any information about that. These are his films. And so I give it the URL, and it says that URL doesn't exist.
Wow.
They could have like memory hold it. They could have like buried that movie. I mean,
Apparently they have, because
Yeah,
AI
like
was
the-
not going to give it to me.
well, like the Jerry Lewis movie in the concentration camp that he wanted no one to ever see. About, I think it was called like The Day the Clown Cried, and Jerry Lewis is like, no one will see this movie while I'm alive. And I think they're finally showing it about a clown who like performs at a concentration camp.
Ooh.
Yeah, not a feel-good movie per se.
Jerry
But,
Lewis
I've
sucks.
heard of people seeing that. I've heard of
Yeah.
people that say they have seen it, but it's one of those things that like supposedly doesn't exist.
Yeah.
The best thing
That Jerry
Dean
Lewis
Martin
movie?
ever did was dump Jerry Lewis.
I
And
feel like
what
I'd
is
rather
it?
go
Great,
through the
man.
actual Holocaust than Jerry Lewis's version of the Holocaust.
Yeah, I think you're right. Even just if somebody Jerry Lewis type of humor is my least favorite type of humor. It'll make me stone face.
leaving.
Yeah, it'll make me stone face, and then I'll start to get angry.
Yeah.
Like it's nothing about it is funny to me. I don't like the.
When I heard that he was really popular in France, everything clicked immediately. I was like, now I get it.
No, his best role, people said, was The King of Comedy, which was a serious role with De Niro. That was one of the kind of forgotten De Niro Scorsese movies, where De Niro plays like a guy who's like a shitty like stand-up comedian, and he wants like his break. And Jerry Lewis is the host of a talk show, and eventually he kind of like finagles his way on. He kidnaps Jerry Lewis in that, and it's actually not a bad movie. But yeah, Jerry Lewis got more acclaim in a serious role than he ever did as a comedian. I mean, in The Nutty Professor or a lot of those other movies.
Flubber.
Disney.
weird.
Disney cat. Look at, and then a Disney
Mary
connection.
Poppins. That was
And
a
then
decent
Robin
role for him.
Williams. And Robin
Wait,
Williams
he
in the
wasn't in
remake.
Mary Poppins.
Yeah, Dick Van Dyke was the.
Oh, Dick Van Dyke. Sorry, I
chimney
was
sweep.
I thought you said Flubber guy. I'm like, no, he was
Well,
not
the
anywhere.
original
I thought we
Flubber.
were still talking about Jerry Lewis. I was like,
That's
wait,
what I did too.
I was so
I thought you were
confused.
saying Jerry Lewis was in Mary Poppins, and I was
know, I was
about
like,
to flip. I was about to turn off the stream. I was about to delete the channel.
Yeah, Dean Martin was always the better talent.
Oh yeah, and something
Of
about
the two.
Dean Martin, even in my lesbian, sexy. He had game. Everything Dean Martin had game on him, and I'm like, "Yep, Dean, you would have made me." Dean would have been a regret.
Dean Martin was one of the few guys who could tell the mob guys to pretty much, piss off, and for the most part, they left him alone, even though he was very mob connected. But yeah, Dean Martin was always out of the Rat Pack. I mean, obviously Sinatra, but I go Dean Martin.
Jim, you were saying something earlier about like the North Pole is really the South Pole.
Yeah. So a magnet, if the North Pole was actually the North magnetic pole of the realm, then the South Pole of magnets would point to it. But it's actually the north side of the magnet that points to the North Pole, which would make the North Pole actually the southern magnetic pole. So it's inverted.
So
I've
are we
never
going
heard of
south?
Well, what's weird is that
We're going to south.
When you dream map and you actually do like dream cartography, the map is completely reversed. So north is south and east is west.
Wow, interesting.
In the dreamscape, yeah.
That is weird.
So that might be how it really is then.
Yeah, well, if you go on the idea that that's the real world and this is like the reflection, then yeah.
It's all been inverted. Everything's inverted.
We're in the upside down.
We're in the upside down, yeah. The big lie.
Have you guys ever heard it this way before? I just heard it this way. North Pole, Pull.
North Pole?
Magnet.
Oh, like a North Pool.
Like pole.
Seems like something an old timer would say. Like north, like a miner or something.
How would-
North
like a
Pole.
bone apple
How would they
pulse
say
thing.
it?
Compass.
How would they say it,
Yeah, that
Gordy?
makes
An
sense.
old miner. How would they say it?
Look, you'd be looking at the North Pole. See, because it's pulling your magnet up north there.
I like it.
Yeah. Gordy is hired on my stage show every time.
Absolutely.
Gordy is
Razzle
gonna,
dazzle.
yeah, he's gonna be my assistant director because the assistant director usually in any stage show, it's like somebody inevitably is gonna fall out. Somebody gets hurt, somebody gets sick, somebody doesn't remember their lines, and you need somebody that can fill in any character that Gordy would do. After the little hat, I'm like, he's capable of anything. He has a
Just put him
He's
on
the
a
wild card.
owl mask on for an hour and you're good.
Oh my gosh, the owl mask alone. It was like it's a fan fave. I had to go through that owl episode specifically to put it on the intro. I'm like, how could the owl mask not be on there? And Gordy's big plans for the owl mask at Bohemian Grove
love
too. Big plans. You guys can all get your own signed by Gordy at Bohemian Grove 2 in October.
That's what's up.
Oh,
And he'll have the real one. The real one will go in a case and we'll auction it off one day
Wow.
for charity.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Great idea.
we might have other stuff too.
Yeah. Okay. I also, if the like, what if it's not the poles, or could it be something like if the toroidal field is it like a push pull at the same time that creates a magnet? And then even like you were saying, like an aluminum is like one of those things that'll vibrate a little. Do you know how certain metals magnetize? Like you can just put them next to a magnet and they magnetize. And then sometimes you find those metals in nature. Like Gordy
Yeah.
with those when he found all those bullets. Like there was something weird about him that had a little bit of magnet in them.
A lot of rock does that when it forms. It will take on the magnetic field that's existing when it is formed, and there are fluctuations in the magnetic field as time moves on. So you can kind of you have a snapshot of what the magnetic field looked like back then. So they've been able to look at the strata of rock and determine that there was a stronger magnetic field at certain periods of time in the past. It kind of goes through waves, being stronger and weaker and whatnot. So it definitely is not. It's not forever. It's always changing.
You know how people wear magnets like on themselves and they're like, oh, for health benefits, or certain cultures think that it's if the magnetic field was stronger, how much would it affect us?
That's a good question.
Or weaker? Like, would we notice if the magnetic field was getting weaker?
They keep
Or-
saying that on the news every like couple of years, that they say that it's getting a little bit weaker. But part of me wonders if that's like, actually real, or I mean, it's something maybe further along.
God, just hear me out. Maybe that's us getting stronger.
I like that idea.
Like
Could eventually be like the movie 2012, where they tell us at some point it shifted and the South Pole's in Wisconsin. Something like that at one point.
Well, dude, that's one of the interesting pole shift theories, and part of like this toroidal field that encompasses with the electromagnetic field is supposed to be like a force field, or like a shield almost, and that when the poles switch, that we will basically be like naked to ultraviolet rays and all sorts of radiation from like space, while the poles like figured themselves out again and then redevelop this sort of force field again.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of historical stuff, like there's a lot of petroglyphs of like these sort of man kind of shapes they've got their arms up and their legs are spread and they've got a sort of a penis hanging down, and it's these are shapes that plasma makes when you run a current through it. So there probably were times where there was maybe the magnetic field was less intense, and sunspot energy comes through. Like recently we had that sunspot storm, and people were seeing the aurora borealis. Yeah, like all over the place. Like that's definitely something that a changing magnetic field would make happen, I think.
Mm-hmm. I agree. They've been saying it's going to slip anyway. For like,
Don't you think
I don't know.
technology-wise, I mean, submarines, how fast can they go? Planes, how fast can they go? The fastest we can go is going to be some sort of bullet train, like with magnets. What goes faster than a magnet?
Well, the magnet actually just creates a resistance. It's a
Well, that's what I
strength within it.
mean. But what goes faster than that technology? Is there something that goes faster than that technology? Like that push pull, push pull, push pull. And so,
That's a
wouldn't
good
there be a
question.
lot to, if you could figure out if there
Like the
was a
maglev of
north?
it all.
Yeah, if it was
Maglev,
pulling
yes.
something. If there,
Rail,
I
but
might be
it's
wrong
Isn't that
on
like the
this.
whole idea of the monorail, like the Disney, where Disney
but-
ties into the Tomorrowland of it all?
like rail energy though. Like I think that there's a thing called rail energy, which is like a spinning magnet kind of thing. That's kind of like shoots an energy out
Like a
the
rail
center.
gun?
I'm trying to think. It's like a rail gun. Yeah, it's more like a rail gun, but there's something a little more to it. I'm trying to think of what it is, but I don't know. I'll think of it later.
They supposedly use magnetic fields to hold particles inside the track at a particle accelerator.
Particle accelerators.
Oh,
Yeah.
CERN,
They-
maybe?
CERN,
Mhm.
yeah, they fire in stages, and it pushes the particle through, keeps it from hitting the sides, and it goes around faster and faster, and bangs into stuff. Kind of,
Well, so I
Yeah,
saw
exactly.
someone in the chat mention HARP. You start wondering the amount of, pardon the language, fuckery that's going on with HARP or chemtrails, all these other things. Are some of them causing
Philip, are you kidding?
shifts?
Jim just said hanging penis. You can say
I
fuckery
heard the
around
hanging
it.
penis, and I was like, all right. I'm like, all right.
Don't let
There's
that go and think it didn't stop Abby in her tracks. She probably had she heard hanging penis.
Well,
she was like,
I did hear it. I was listening. I was
I
like,
know
should I say
technically
something
around here.
inappropriate, or
that
I'm gonna go
usually
ahead and let it
gets us
slide?
all off the rails, but we moved on like adults from that.
I know.
So
Look
you
at me.
can
I'm
say
maturing.
fuckery with harp, Philip.
But part of me wonders, who is it? This great author, Alana Freeland, who's talked about like chemtrails and HARP, and like she's written a few books on it and has another one coming out. You almost start wondering, are the polls weakening because of this crap they've been polling with all these, these weapons, whatever you want to call it. I mean, HARP, they just fired up again, and it feels like anytime there's an earthquake, people start pointing the finger that it's HARP, or next hurricane, or something that just seems to be, they want to obviously point the finger at climate change, which is horseshit. But every volcano, like that, what was that weird one a couple of years ago where the volcano just kind of like, they showed it on the map, just kind of like plume right in the ocean and everything. And I think I was talking to you about that, Chaney, at the time. That I think it was off Fiji or something, where it was like that huge volcano
Layla,
that blew up.
Mic
Yeah.
check.
I can't do it. I can't. I was put on the spot.
I know.
I
He
can't do
totally
it.
put you on the spot, but I didn't know if you saw it or not. So I was like,
Oh no, I saw. That's why I was like, nuh-uh. Not right now. Not right now. I do it in my own time. All right, buddy. Like, stop.
Layla won't fake mic checks tonight. Only
No.
real mic checks.
sorry, Phil.
Looking around.
That's all right. I was watching the show from last week, and I was like, is Layla going to have to kick some ass this week? With the loud partying going on?
Like, are we gonna get to see it in action where she's gonna shoot people's sim triangles down?
So the biggest complaint I have in my neighborhood is they shoot fireworks off between May and September. It's like, all right, enough. You don't need to. Not every night.
Obnoxious.
Well, it sucks fireworks, but I think somewhere there's a secret pissing contest between us and China, because the more fireworks you have, you could just piss away your gunpowder. That's what you're showing other people. Like, we have so many bullets and so much guns. This is what we can do with our gunpowder. We can make sparkles for the women and children. Like, we have
Yeah.
so much to take care of us. This is what we do with the leftover. And that's why China has all the fireworks and America has all the fireworks. So it's
Yeah.
a secret magical pissing contest that we
Didn't
don't know.
they just?
That's why they didn't want us to shoot off our fireworks for 4th of
Didn't
July
they
every
just
year.
shoot at
Why
the
they do it over the
largest?
Washington Monument? Showing
What
our
were you saying, Layla?
big D energy.
Well, I thought I saw an article that China just like shot up the largest like firework ever, like record history. Because I follow that on TikTok, like fireworks, the largest fireworks. Some of them are pretty sick, but yeah, it's like a who got more gunpowder. You're right. Like the larger the fucking firecracker. Oh, I broke the record this time. Who could break my record next? It's pretty
Well,
fucking
that's
dope.
also what those drone displays are in
Mhm.
countries. Like, if I invite you to my Olympics and I'm China and I have a huge drone display, I'm just showing every other leader in the world what I could do with my military drones.
Mhm.
That's the exact
too, yeah.
same. All this I'm saying because this is what the space race is. If I convince you that I get a rocket to the moon, then I can get a rocket anywhere on the planet. That's it. All this stuff is the same kind of like we think it's one thing, but it's really showing other little chess players that like, nah, this is what we got over here. Like you want to keep
Yeah.
fucking around America? We'll drop like because this is how America played too. They did some Hiroshima Nagasaki, which is debatable about what really happened, and they were shooting rockets that made it to the moon. So in the illusion, America can shoot a rocket anywhere they want on the planet and do Hiroshima Nagasaki. We don't want to fuck with America. And so it was really just the TV that gave us this world prowess. It was like we just used atomic bomb, hydrogen bomb, told people this is so scary. This thing, it probably wasn't even those things. It was probably just a whole bunch of gunpowder.
It's a secrets club.
Because if you shoot up a rocket
Yep.
or drop a bomb, it's all just gunpowder.
Yeah.
It's all gunpowder. It's all redneck. This is redneck alchemy, y'all. I'm gonna have my own show called Redneck Alchemy, and it does.
Well,
It's
then-
hard to shoot up a rocket.
And just to go off that point, like you think about it, like supposedly the atomic program was riddled with spies. Why did Julius and Ethel Rosenberg have to be executed? Did they give up the atomic program, or did they maybe know more? You know, maybe they knew something further behind the whole thing. And meanwhile, they were given up, I think, by the brother-in-law, something like that.
And pretty much the way you know it's not real, Oppenheimer, the movie.
Oh yeah.
Like being released with the Barbie movie, so we all looked at the Barbie movie being like, this is so wild and so crazy how they took this fake thing and made it reality without saying those exact same words watching Oppenheimer.
And could you get a better director than Christopher Nolan? Inception and
They
what
could
was
have
that?
gotten Darren Aronofsky and kind of done that direction again.
Oh, that's what was weird when you guys are talking about Requiem for a Dream. I'm like looking up and I'm like, I knew he did The Whale, but I was like, holy shit, he did both of them.
Oh my gosh, that same guy did those?
Yeah,
Yep. And he did The Wrestler. He
Y'all,
did the Mickey Rourke
I had
movie too.
no idea he did that when I brought it up as a comparison. So that's why I felt that way. I'm like, he really did just take the refrigerator scene of the old lady, and he was like, what if this old lady just continued to live? And then that becomes this whole movie. It was so sad. Ugh. It was so, and this, I just don't believe, like, he had a shower and he, like, scrubbed himself in the shower. I just don't believe he was showering that much. How hard it was for him to move. I don't believe he was putting himself in bed every night. I don't believe he didn't smell like urine and shit. Like, there's things that I'm like, he got to the bathroom every time, but he couldn't just get his remote control. Like, there was, like, a juxtaposition about what he was capable of doing that I'm like, get lost in the movie, but then for real, this is real life. I was rice and chicken. And I was so excited to eat. We put on a movie.
Oh, I got too. I did too when I started watching it. I was like,
not a good
I'm
movie
not-
to eat dinner to, no.
And
Nope.
it was all it was, his
did the same.
huge, gouty, diabetic legs under like he's
God.
like dying of like congestive heart failure. And it was like his socks pulled up. And I was just staring at his legs like,
Would have been better off watching my 600-pound life on TLC.
that's kind of
Yep.
stuff I don't take in. I don't really take in shows where I feel like we're watching circus, like we're all like
Yeah.
laughing together. I don't ever take in those. And there was something weird about this that I was like, huh, like would I watch a whole, like how many shows that I have watched that are just like the entire show is about somebody's downward spiral from drugs. And this shows someone's downward spiral from food.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Which is arguably like the most abused drug there is.
Oh God, yeah.
Sugar.
Because you
Absolutely.
have to have it. Because you have to have it. That's the wild
You
part
have
of
to
it.
eat the right ones.
That's the wild
Just
thing.
eat better food.
I mean, I
That's a hard
literally
thing.
saw it with my wife's uncle. My wife's uncle was like 600 pounds. And
Yeah.
I remember going to like my first Christmas with my future in-laws going upstate New York, and we were the only two drinking Coke. Everybody else was drinking Diet Coke, thinking because Diet Coke was supposed to be better. And he's like, "You drink Coke, don't you?" I'm like, "Oh God, yeah." I said, "I drank like between 2 and probably 2.5 liters a day, give or take. That was my caffeine, habit." And then Yeah, no, he was 600 pounds. He dropped over like about 100,
A
150.
coke
And then,
problem.
yeah.
I think
And,
it's almost better to actually maybe go through a coke addiction instead
Yeah.
of like if
Than
you
a
dealt with
Coca-Cola.
cocaine for
Be
a
a little
little
bit more
while.
expensive, but yeah.
yeah, it would have
Yeah.
been better off with the original formula.
Yeah, like I do think I've broken my coke addiction, which is so exciting. Everybody Coca-Cola. I always know when my Coca-Cola addiction's falling off because I'm like, you know what seems good? A Pepsi. And then I drink the
Gross.
Pepsi and I'm like, ew.
Oh, it always tastes
It's
like
like
syrup,
a
man.
flat. It's like a
Yeah.
flat Coke. And so I only had one good Pepsi machine in my life. Chicago, you know what's up with Pepsi. It's just people from Chicago. They got the best Pepsi machines. I don't know what it is.
How do you
Maybe
feel
it's
about
their
Mexican
Polish.
Coke?
It's the only kind of Coke. That's the best Coke. Mexican
Mexican Coke?
Mexican Coke in a glass
Yeah.
bottle.
That's the shit, man. You
Because
get
it's
it here.
cane
Glass bottle,
sugar.
it's great.
Everywhere, glass bottle. Yep.
And you have to get two because for some reason I feel like when we were younger, the glass bottle was bigger.
It was well.
They were.
They were. I think.
Yeah.
Well, we were little.
No, I had a friend who had like, people who collect antiques. So people
Oh,
have
that's
the old
true.
bottles. They are a
People
lot
do have
bigger.
old
They're a lot
bottles, that's
bigger.
true.
Taller, slimmer.
Yeah.
And the green
Mhm.
ones are fancy and
Yeah.
collectible.
So
Fancy. Sorry.
back to
Fancy.
magnets. Don't the shape of magnets matter in its power to do whatever it needs to do? Like the
The
shoe
shape
horse.
of the magnet.
Yeah. A square, a rectangle, a triangle,
Horseshoe.
a sphere, the horseshoe. Yeah.
Depends
Like
on what you're
does
wanting
it,
to do.
This would actually be that when Jim comes back, this is a great question. Like, can the shape
Yeah.
of a magnet make it more powerful?
That's why I
No.
was saying what I was saying earlier, because
Yeah.
they say that's where the magnetic force is coming from. It's coming from the ball. But when you take a ball magnet, it's shooting an infinite amount of direction of magnetism, like whether it's pulling or pushing. So how does that kind of force choose a pole when it has 360 degrees of circumference to cover in its equal amount of magnetism, because it's a sphere supposedly
But
inside?
I think I might be wrong on this, but I think all magnets have
Hold on.
poles. So even a little spherical
Yeah.
ball would still have a north
It
and
has it
south pole
in the
to
very
it.
So
center,
also
I believe.
in square, a square or a rectangle or so if you take iron filings, right? They have a magnet tester in electronics and stuff like this. There's a screen that you can put up that shows you where your magnets are. It like shows you the poles so that you don't. So
Yeah,
that you
I know that. But
solder
like the
stuff
balls
right.
that you
And
sent
it's
us,
always, but it doesn't matter what shape it's in. The hole always makes a toroid.
well,
The shape of the magnetic force
I get
is
that.
always a sphere.
But like your things
Yeah.
that you found,
Uh-huh.
every part of it is magnetized. It sticks to a
Yeah.
magnet. So how are
Those
we
are
finding
weird,
that?
though.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like that when you take a those they sell them for kids. They're tiny little magnets and they all just stick together and you can build things with it. But the whole entire surface of it is magnetic, like equally magnetic, no
But
stronger
it's
on
not
any
equally
point.
magnetic because if you notice when you take those and stick them together, they
Uh-huh.
orient themselves in like a straight line because it's always trying to match up the poles. Like you can't
Yeah.
just connect them in any different direction. They automatically snap into like straight lines because that's the alignment of that magnetic field, the way that you're putting it together. So it's not like
Yeah.
it's magnetic in exactly 360 degrees. They're still aligned in one specific direction.
Do you remember, did any of you guys see
I don't know.
I'm just going to make a quick allusion, the videos starting in 2020, 2021 involving a thing that I'm not going to say all of it, but that
Mhm.
when people got, they put a magnet by the injection area.
Oh.
And they say that, did anyone see those? No,
Yeah.
it was
I
sticking
tried
or
it.
whatnot.
I had a
I
friend
tried it on people.
who
I'm
had
like,
a magnet stick to her there. So
I'm like, what do you do? Yeah, you
and when
did.
she told
Let me see your arm.
her sister-in-law was like, "Oh, you're just reading too many conspiracies. Obviously, they broke the needle off in your arm.
To me, at that point, you go to the casino. I mean, at that point, I think you got some luck there because maybe you can. I think they say magnets with casino, like the one-armed bandits, were able to kind of trigger jackpots. So at that point, why not? Why not make it worth it?
So I've got a
That's what I'm
magnetic
saying.
ability. Paper clips will magnetically stick to my forehead. It's the weirdest thing
Yes.
ever.
Yes. I remember having this conversation with you, Jim. This was like one of our first conversations. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Jim, have you ever seen a magnetic engine?
A magnetic engine. Sounds
So
familiar. How does
it's
it work?
opposing. It's in two opposing spheres. So all of your picture an inner sphere of a opposing outer negative or something, and the inner or the outer being the opposing positive, and that center one will just constantly just it can't do anything else, but because the magnets are angled just a little smidge, that ball just can't help but just constantly spin forever. So you have this perfectly autonomous engine that has been developed over and over and over again. And as soon as somebody starts showing up and throwing it on YouTube, it like disappears. Like you never heard about it again.
Yes,
And I've seen it over like 5 or 6 times over the years of like the last 20 years of the internet.
I have a friend that made one.
Okay, good.
A friend of mine made one. He was making all kinds of crazy stuff in his garage. Like one of the things he made a hydrogen cell that he ran off of a 18-volt drill battery, and that thing powered his generator that powered his workshop, which is like amazing.
Man.
But he made one of
So
those
good.
magnetic generators. It had like 2 discs, and it was aluminum. And he said the hardest thing was figuring out the correct angles to put the magnets.
Right,
So
it's
would
the angle,
push
right?
off each other and go around.
Yeah, I figured.
And he got it running. He spun it up, and it started spinning and spinning faster and faster and faster. And he was going to hook it up to a motor or generator and make electricity off of it, but he just left it. He like went in the house, came back out like the next day. It was still spinning. He was like, "Wow!"
Jeez.
And it eventually melted the bolt. It was holding it together. It got so
No
hot,
shit. Wow.
and it just melted the bolt and broke. And then he got divorced, and so he never developed it further. Unfortunately, unrelated. Yeah, that's what happens every time, I guess.
Damn.
You get divorced.
Yep. Takes everything.
Sucks. Don't do it. You can help it.
I missed that part. I had to go get a Pop-Tart.
Oh, speaking of eating healthy, I'm so glad you're making good choices for yourself, Chaney.
I know. I know.
Here's
Every
the
once in
question.
a
They're
while.
fortified. It's
Okay.
fortified.
What kind of Pop-Tart?
I'm giving you
Strawberry.
shit.
Yes.
All right. Did you
Nice.
toast it though?
No, I didn't do anything
Oh,
extra. I don't have
no.
that much self-care, but I don't
gotta-
have my
Toasted
favorite.
with
You gotta
butter.
toast it.
Have
You
you ever
gotta,
put butter
yeah, you
on
gotta
it?
It
love
has
it. Put
icing
butter on it.
I don't like
my
the
God.
icing ones.
Oh,
It's
but
really just been in there, but I
is that
just
a Oki
got a
thing?
wave of like, I'm so
With the
hungry
butter?
right now.
I
that
think
Yeah.
so. I
I've
never
heard
started a
that
butter.
before.
Oh my gosh, I never
Is that
tried it until I
Oki
moved to
thing?
Oklahoma, and it's the most amazing thing I've ever had.
It is so good.
A hot Pop-Tart, and you just melt butter all over the top. Oh my
Butter.
God.
Yeah.
You'll
I've
never want
never
them
done a
another
hot
way again.
Pop-Tart.
Baby, you
Never.
will never go back.
You'll never go back.
You'll
Have any of
never
you
go
guys
back.
tried- I
It's
saw
really
this.
good.
Like I grew up with people doing this all the time in upstate New York, at least. But putting peanuts into like a Coca-Cola, and then like drinking the soda and eating the peanuts. Have you
I
ever
think
heard
I've
about
heard of
this
that.
before?
I've heard of that.
Oh,
Apparently, it was
Maybe.
freaking people out.
I might have
Yeah.
seen that at a baseball game once, truth be told. Then again, people do weird shit at baseball games.
yes,
It's
they do.
efficient. It's super efficient.
Does
Yeah,
it make
seems-
does it benefit the taste of the peanut? Is there a benefit?
In my
to
opinion,
is
it
it
doesn't
the
benefit
salt?
anything. It makes the soda flat and it makes the peanuts soggy, but some people love it.
All
Yeah,
right,
that sounds gross.
Worst idea
Sounds
ever.
like-
And speaking of doing something gross, and I did this in college, so judge me for that. I put Smarties, you know the Smarties candies,
This is
in a
already
beer,
gross. We're already
and
gross.
watched the fizz completely come out, and I drank it, and I was like, it was basically just like water. And I was like, that was the stupidest fucking thing you ever did. And I'm like, and you wasted a beer and the candy. and I wasn't even stoned. I said, but yeah, that's the peanut thing. Almost makes a little bit of sense, though. Truth be told.
There's
I
so
kinda wanna
much
try it,
technology to
but I
beers
never drink
and
beer
pouring
again.
beers and not getting full and the way they settle. And each beer has different glasses and different temperatures, and
Yeah.
some have to be hand pumped, and they should never even have foam. Like the way we drink beer now is so wild compared to how it is supposed to be drank.
Well, I was just about to ask, should I go get another one? I waited until the show started to drink my porch rockers. So
I've been good on the Secret Society of Good Guys. I haven't partaken in alcohol on air. Not that
I
I
have.
won't.
I have, but I don't need it anymore. Thank God.
Oh my gosh, you can find me drunk online. I won't
It's
say
fun
where.
sometimes.
Did you figure out what you had?
No,
No, but you're better.
no idea. I'm getting better. Yeah, like the pain is no longer there. I still have like this fluttering thing that keeps happening in that space, but I'm good. Like it's getting better. So I don't need a drink. I drank because it helped the pain, y'all. I know how that sounds, but it's weird. It just helps. Like when you have gastro problems, for some reason, it just helps like numb the pain, whatever you're feeling. So I get it. I get you people who do that. I get you. I see you.
Drink to numb the pain.
Mm-hmm.
Does RSO help
Did it for
numb
years.
stomach pain?
What?
RSO, the Rick Simpson oil, that dark brown stuff that you get in the syringes.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, I
Yeah,
mean,
for sure.
I recommend maybe giving that a shot next time.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. Rick Simpson oil, certain terpenes, like for, I wonder, digestive wise, my migraines are from my digestive. And so, like, that's where my aura stems. And then I get like, whatever. I don't need to go into details about it, but there are strands of marijuana that I use specifically for that. That I wish I had right now. That's why I'm eating
Same.
a Pop-Tart too. I'm like, I am not getting the aura of a migraine right now, which means nothing now. It won't mean anything right now. It'll mean everything at 8 a.m.
Yeah. Excedrin. That helps my migraines so much. And so
Excedrin's the
quick.
only thing that works.
Louise
Yeah.
L. Hay
Yeah.
says if people who have migraines need to masturbate. Just saying.
Right
See?
now?
If you're getting a migraine, maybe you should.
You guys
No,
priding yourself on your.
sometimes it
right
doesn't work.
now.
Go take care of business, okay?
my wife is going to give me the strangest look when I tell her to do that. She gets
Hey.
bad migraines. She gets bad migraines.
I've tried, Abby, and sometimes it just doesn't work.
I think
Like,
it's
even
more
during a
I think it's
migraine.
a buildup of. I don't think it's supposed to really help during the migraine. I think it's supposed to help with like people who have chronic migraines because those people are
They
usually
do
pretty
help.
uptight.
Yeah,
I think
it
if
does
you
help.
have that release, you shouldn't have as many migraines.
I
I
probably
have
should jerk
migraines
off
because
more.
I need an alignment in here under my skull. It's just right in here. My kinks. Right there. Can't get them.
My grandmother did
told.
something with what was it, aspirin, and I think Alka-Seltzer, because she used to get really bad migraines, and that did it. That was the trick for her. I said, my
Yeah, I think
mother
my mom
suffered.
did that too. Yeah.
My wife, my mother-in-law. I said, my girls have migraines. I said, knock on wood, I don't. I said, I get bad sinus headaches, which suck. But
I used to get them really bad, man. It was terrible. I went
You
on
guys-
all sorts of meds for it. And those little nose syringe ones, like these magic things that would make your whole brain go fucking numb. It
You
was
want to see some
wild.
trash panda shit? This is like not heard of. Usually, what kind
Terrible.
of cat cares about a Pop Tart? And you'd think, oh, maybe he wants the bread, maybe the butter, the milk. No, this crazy cat wants he wants the red. He wants the like. He's a trash panda. This feral cat. He just.
All right, I'm getting a beer. Be right back.
You're gonna eat it in front of him, aren't you? Good.
He's like that.
Yeah.
Give me that.
That.
Yeah, he's like Gordy.
I love cat paws. Cat's paws are so cute.
I know. I'm like, no one can help it that they're just marshmallows with razor blades as hands. God had to give him razor blades as hands because we all would have had cuteness aggression toward them. That's where I feel like men have no worry. They have no need to worry. It'll be hard pressed for any alien species to ever be as well created as the human man or Earth women. I just want all men to feel safe in that. But if they look like cats, you guys are in trouble. If there's some version of feline that is the alien race, y'all in trouble. It's the only thing I think that can take Earthmen down.
Dude, they're selling cat suits for like furries for like 15 grand, like actual like really good ones.
Don't
I'm
do
just
it,
like,
Layla.
I'm not gonna do that. Absolutely not. I saw it online. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, yeah.
What rabbit hole were you in? The $15,000.
It was on my FYP page. It was on my FYP.
You have always have the weirdest algorithm. I don't know how you do it.
Me? Yeah. It's just strange. It's strange.
This is unbelievable.
It's hilarious.
The cat is aggressive.
Jeez.
Then again, my dog has a thing. My dog has a thing with tacos. We did taco night, and my dog will literally just be like, "You gonna drop something?" And
This
it's like,
cat
"No."
is balancing on my
Give it a
knee
chance.
right now. Sharky, Ann, get down.
Cats are the perfect vehicle for toxoplasmosis. I think they were created.
Toxoplasmosis.
What's
See?
that?
That's why you don't have more than two.
It's what
What-
like pregnant
Toxoplasmosis
ladies
is-
get it. Like if
it's
you're
a-
pregnant, you're not supposed to mess with the litter box at all. Like because it'll some kind of bacteria
It's
or
like a
parasite that goes
parasite.
up in that goes up inside your vagina
Lives
and
inside
will
the cat's
yeah.
feces. And
But it
I was
makes
a little nervous.
you
It makes you
mice
love
get
cat.
it, and it makes the mice run toward the cat. It makes you obsessed with cats.
Yeah. That's why crazy old cat ladies are a thing. That's really
That's so
concerned
alien. We
about
talk
my
about
sister at one point.
octopus and all these things. Think of a creature on the planet that is developing a sense to create something that makes you fall in love with them. Like
Well-
essentially, cats are Spanish flying. They're Bill Cosbying all of us.
If there's any
I don't
truth
care.
in Men in Black, it was like the cat the whole time.
Yeah,
You know, that
I'll be a
with
fucking cat lady.
Orion's belt. Yep.
I don't care. I'll be the crazy cat lady.
I like cats.
I swear.
too.
It's hard to not love cats.
Why
when
does it feel like a threat?
I know.
No.
Oh, I'm being crazy.
I will go lady on you.
We're all lousy.
Get off my porch.
That's the secretly every like woman at a certain point they're like, yeah, I'll be the crazy cat lady on the hill in the house that everyone thinks is the witch, and they're like, don't go to that house. That's where the
Yeah,
witch
leave me the
lives."
fuck alone. That's it.
My
I
black
dig
house
that part.
with
Maybe
gargoyles.
But I want to
on
live
the
around a
corner.
whole bunch of other crazy witches with cats too. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where people are like,
Yo, that would
don't
be
go
so
in there.
dope.
It's a
Right?
coven.
Mm-hmm.
Our
You
coven.
can't be a crazy cat lady and not smell like cat pee. It kind of goes hand in hand, right?
Yeah, I think
It
so.
is
Like, it's
something that
definitely
I am highly
real.
judgmental. Actually, if you have a
Yeah.
cat and I walk in your house and it
And it smells like cat. Yeah,
I
you're not
won't
doing a
eat
good
your
job.
food. I'm
Yeah.
not sleeping in your bed. I'm not. I think you're dirty. Like I
Mhm.
just am like, if you can't keep your cat box clean, that means you're petting that with your bare hands every time you touch your cat. So you're getting
Yep.
litter on everything you touch. So if you can't keep if I smell cat box, I'm out.
It means you've intruded on a bond Can't be broken.
Yeah, I've really like if I were on a date and a girl's like, "Come back to my house," and then we went back to her house and it smelled like cat box, I wouldn't be getting in her cat box.
And I worried about saying fuckery.
But yeah, I'm like, oh, that's just like one of those things. It's harder for a dog, but it would be equivalent to somebody's dog pissing or shitting on the floor and they just leave it.
Yeah, disgusting.
So, have we ever initiated 2 people in one night?
I feel like Philip's been initiated.
Yeah, he's been initiated.
Oh, I wasn't on that episode.
No, you weren't. Yeah, that you were.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
Competition.
Don't worry. So after the show, you can decide if you want to be beaten or fucked in by Abby. Anyway.
Oh, it got specific. Okay.
The way she does it, it's actually both, and you
But
can't
it's like
decide.
on this day. You won't know when it happens, but it's gonna happen on this day. It'll just happen.
Because we already all did it to Philip. We won't give it away to the audience of what he chose. But now it's Jim's turn.
It is Jim's turn.
So what were you going to ask
All
him?
right, Jim.
So, Jim, would you fuck your clone?
Well, no, I'm married.
That's a good answer. Good job. It is. That's a really good answer. You are an upright man.
I didn't even think about that one.
Does that violate the oath of marriage?
Yeah,
I didn't. In my mind, it doesn't. So
because that was the question: is it incest
Is it
or
cheating?
masturbation? Is it cheating if it's you?
I guess it depends on the mood. You know?
Would you know? Would you turn you on if you were like, "Hey Jim, what are you
Well,
doing tonight?"
You would know what you would
"Hey,
like.
Jim."
I don't know. I think it sounds kind of gay.
I know that's what if my clone hit. I have so little game. If my clone were hitting on me, I couldn't even make eye contact with my clone. Like me and my clone would both be awkward. Like I'd have sweaty palms, being like, "Oh my gosh, does my clone want to hold hands?"
But see, I don't think mine would be like, mine wouldn't be flirting with me. Mine would just be like, hey, what do you think about
Let me
this?
show
And I'm
you.
like,
Yeah, let me
let's
show you
try
what
it.
we can do.
Yeah.
Oh,
See
I
how
wouldn't
good
be
we
into
are.
my clone at all then, because I don't like forward. Too forward turns me off.
I
I
feel
do
like I
find
would learn
myself
so much about
irresistible.
myself.
But
Well, there you go.
It's going to make for an
But yeah.
interesting breakfast the next morning.
I know the walk of shame's so different.
Be like a spin on that movie Multiplicity, the Michael Keaton movie. The
I
clone.
know. That's what I think of the
Oh, you've never
copy
seen
of
that
the
one?
copy. What
Yeah.
if you're like the fourth copy of the original clone?
You're like the retarded one putting the pizza in his wallet.
Told y'all, it's
Like,
Brittany.
you know, like what if you might not be full him, but you're just the fourth copy of the original you? Like how we were talking about Greater Egypt, Lesser Egypt, New Egypt. Greater York, Lesser York, New York. Like, what if you're just like the third Abby? Like, we're all, let's play simulation for a second, but you're not the most superior version of you. You know, like the Black Mirror show, Everybody Wants to Kill Jane or something? How in her version of life, she like, okay, here would be like, in my version of life, I'm me, but the next stage up, I'm Ellen DeGeneres, but the next stage up, I'm Cameron Diaz, but the next stage up, I'm like, it just keeps getting hotter. Like way and like more put together, like the stage up from Joan, the person playing her Selma Hayek, but the person up from that is like Demi Moore. I don't remember what it was, but it's like this kind of idea of imagine just being like somebody else is playing you that's a better version of you.
It'd be great to have a day off. If I had better versions of me, they could take care of the stuff. The hard stuff.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Be
Go
like,
do,
Just trust.
Put
do
my
the
feet
stuff
up.
I have to do.
You know, that's where being a twin would have been so cool. Like my father-in-law had Alzheimer's, but he was telling me stories that none of his kids had ever heard. And he would like he was a twin, and him and his brother were both like state track champions and stuff. But the way that they would win is that they would go in and they would sign up for all the events and like as one person. So one day Ron would win, the next time Don would win. But like Ron and Don would both switch out, so they would win every event, and then like so
Brilliant
one of them would
strategy.
win. But oh my gosh, yeah, I'm like, that is like having
And
a
each one
clone.
was fresh, right? It was
Yeah,
like
they
a
were fresh.
tournament.
So
They're
yeah.
fresh. So yeah, of course it's a cheat. Yeah.
So when I told his kids that, they're like, they couldn't believe it because he was like cognitive enough to tell me the story, but like none of them had ever heard the story before.
The
Like-
twins, the best pool hustle. When people are like, "Oh my gosh, they've made a robot Joe Biden. Oh my gosh, there's a clone. Oh my gosh, there's a mask." I'm like, or there's just a twin you never knew about. That's the thing. I think that would be the
Like the
most. It's the
Challenger?
most powerful pool hustle. Anything that would be the most powerful pool hustle or best chess move. You play against me. You know my ticks. You know all these things that I do, and then you play against my twin sister, who's way better than me.
Yeah.
You don't know any of her ticks. You don't know any how she plays.
It's always the dumbest angle that is the best. The most
Yeah, the most simple. Keep it
most
simple, stupid.
When
The
you think
KISS
about
method.
Occam's razor, is that what that is?
with Biden, I think I've mentioned the movie Dave before, you know, where you get a guy who's a presidential impersonator and the president has a stroke and they bring in the guy to replace him. And, you know, every now and then you wonder, I'm like, could they pull it off? I'm like, you have guys who could pass, you know, for these guys. You look at Biden and you know, even his brother, what is it, James, looks enough like him where they could have pulled something off.
Oh yeah.
And then
Especially
you
with
look
the
at
amount of
how
plastic
far
surgeons we
away.
have.
Yeah, how far away he does actually look like him. And then they tell you every single world leader in the entire world has like 5 body doubles.
Yeah,
I,
like
I
the
wanna
movie The
understand
Saint.
the earlobe thing. How come there's pictures of Biden with connected earlobe and then one where it's separated? That one I
I've
don't
looked
get.
into this.
How about his neck too?
He's
There was
got
a weird one
earlobes
with
on
his
one
neck.
side is connected and the other side is not connected.
Is that true?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
crazy.
Yeah.
What
It's
kind of
always
I
the
almost
mutant
feel
same
like it
does
would
that?
have been like an
connected.
elective surgery just to
Did it
throw
get
it?
Kind of
Did he
mutant.
get it?
It's the weirdest thing.
The
Freak.
movie Saint shows that too, with Val Kilmer.
What a great movie.
I love that movie.
What a great movie. That might be Val Kilmer's best movie.
Yeah, I love that fucking movie.
I need to watch that again. I always love it every
Same.
time I watch
Every
it. It's
time.
such a hustle.
Mm-hmm. It shows you clear as day.
And that's how I always thought Biden's ears were used to be hangy, but then when they do plastic surgery and pull your cheek back tight, they sew that part of your skin to that bottom part of your earlobe, so it like makes your skin like, and now I'm so young. Like
They might
I
not have
don't
gotten
know.
a good one for him. They might have gotten like the guy that Bruce Campbell played in, what was it, Escape from L.A. Get the sort of bad doctor, bad plastic surgeon.
Biden needs to be in bed. Like,
He really does.
yeah.
He's
Whoever he's even playing him, like,
Did he
needs to be
shit
in
his
bed.
pants? Like they were like, did Biden shit his pants on stage yesterday?
I saw that.
Either that or he sat down when he wasn't supposed to. Either way, it doesn't look good. And we know he shit himself in front of the Pope. So, I mean, not that I give a shit about the Pope. The Pope's a piece of shit. I hate Pope Francis so much.
He's just if the bankruptcy was child pedophilia, they wrapped the pedophilia in Benedict and they just cut the company in half. They put it was the first, like, we sat with this Pope John for our lifetime. This guy's
Yep.
there, and then we have Benedict just to come in and say, "Oh, the Catholic Church did atrocities. We're letting this guy go."
And
Even though they
meanwhile,
never
Pope
put it
Benedict was
on
Hitler
there.
Youth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Even the
that.
name Benedict.
Yeah. Oh, Benedict Arnold. I mean, yeah, it's a guy.
He seemed like a perfect scapegoat. He even had those weird, like, George Soros ballsack eyes going on.
I mean, and his name was Joseph
think it was a
Ratzinger. I mean, he had a
scapegoat?
name that was, you know, kind of like conducive to being like, yeah, this might not be the best guy we could have had here, you know?
And he was pretty well known for connecting to hiding pedophiles. Even here in Tucson, the diocese here had a problem with it.
Yeah, he what was it? The documentary was called, I think it was Mea Maxima Culpa, where it was priests who would molest these kids at, like, I think the deaf kids stuff like that. It was horrific. And these guys were getting
Mhm.
shuffled around. And one point they confront one of the priests and he's like, it happened years ago. I'm better now. And it's like, oh yeah, because that makes up for everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's
Ironic for a Catholic priest to be like, it happened such a long time ago. Get over it. Like, do you know about your religion?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the little
I
hex thing.
confess
Don't
my
bring up
sins.
Jesus to
I'm
me.
forgiven.
You've literally
Yep.
been holding on to
We
the same
watched.
story for 2,000 years.
Yeah. No.
Creeps. Fucking
You know,
creeps everywhere.
Francis was death squads, that he might have given up people to the Argentinian death squads. So I think that's for the most part, it's almost like kind of how we get some of these people who wind up becoming congressmen. It's people who are compromised.
So,
You know, it's people you can shape in some form or another.
like the Mexican president, the new one.
Yeah.
How did she fucking get voted when the majority is like Catholic and Christian in Santeria and like like that
Do they
is just
even
and
have
how many
regular
people died?
elections?
A
I
Jewish
thought
liberal.
in Mexico they didn't even do elections. It's just
Ooh.
whoever is left
Something.
standing after everyone else gets shot. Like whoever
Yeah.
survives
Yeah.
gets to be president.
What,
No.
34 people were killed? So
No,
she
there's
became
37.
president, 37 or something like that. Yeah.
Jesus.
Mexico
So-
is such a nightmare because of the shit we've done. I think I might have told Chaney, there was a book years ago, it was called Our Man in Mexico. And it's about a guy named Winston Scott, who was like the CIA chief down in Mexico and was there, oddly enough, when the guy who they claimed was Lee Harvey Oswald visited, I think it was like the Russian and Cuban embassies. And then the picture they get is a guy who's twice Lee Harvey Oswald's weight and has, I think, more hair. And that's who they identified. And Winston Scott later on would write a book about Oswald and then would die after, I think, having a household accident. And they talk about our government's control over Mexican leadership. So, like, we've been involved with their politics probably since the days of Pancho Villa.
I like
At least.
Oh, for
PKs.
sure.
Whoever has the most avocado trees becomes the president.
I like that.
Some big cojones. What about crazy 38 candidates for governor? Damn.
What's that?
She just said 38, and I'm like, that's crazy 38.
Oh, crazy 38. Yeah. That's why it's crazy. But then I think my Maria posted the picture, and it might have been like Newsweek or one of those weird magazines, Life, I don't know, one of those The Economist, and it had like the picture of the year ahead, and it has like a picture of a silhouette of a woman for like the Mexican president. You know how they always tell us their script like The Simpsons.
Mhm.
Gotta love The Simpsons, or at least
Uh,
at one point.
Somebody else said it. Black shade with a ponytail.
Interesting.
Yeah. Do you if I think like if there is whatever the magnetic pole is, whatever the thing that is pulling that compass toward it, how much could it either covering it, burying it, doing something to it, like maybe it was PK in chat that was saying like 5 degrees difference. What if they're slowly doing something to that, and it is something that is some kind of energy thing for us, like the opposite of Superman and like his crystal cave. Sometimes that's what I think that Rupa Negro is like a crystal cave of some sort.
That's
A
interesting.
Fortress of Solitude.
Yeah.
God, wouldn't that be great?
I always kind of think of
Solitude.
it like so there are these spots called mystery spots, and there's one in Southern Oregon. It's like an electromagnetic vortex, and you can go there, and they have a spot where you can stand back to back with someone who's taller than you, and you walk away from each other, and the shorter person stretches out and the taller person shrinks, and when they get like 10 paces apart, they're like exactly the same size. Then they come back together and they get back to the normal size. And there's some other weird effects. Like there's like this little the one in Oregon, there's like this cabin, and it's all kind of fallen down off of a hill, and it's all kind of crooked. And
Yeah.
there's like a cannonball that's hanging from a chain from the ceiling, but like the chain doesn't hang straight down; it like actually curves. And like when you push the cannonball and it like curves, stays
Rip out.
curved. Apparently the Native Americans wouldn't go there. They called it a cursed land, and they would shoot their arrows through it, and they wouldn't fly straight, and their horses
Wow.
wouldn't go to it. And some of the theories are that because of the electromagnetic vortex, it like misshapes molecules. It like stretches reality in that area. So what if at the magnetic pole, the magnetic vortex alters reality so much that like imagine we live on a plane, but in the middle of the pole, the magnetic field goes into the earth and bends the matter into sort of a hyperdimensional shape. So it's
not a hollow Earth, but it's an alternate inner Earth.
Yeah, like looking at it, you'd like look like it would look like you're looking down at the core of an apple.
Oh, yeah.
But as you walk into it, it would appear to stretch out flat, which it
Mirroring.
would actually be flat. But
Yeah.
it's like a hyperdimensional shape. Something is curved when it's straight. Like you look at an angle and you can see around a corner. But like sort of like a Mobius strip would appear like it was flat when you're on it, but it actually, to us, if you look at the greater picture, it would curve. And I don't know, I kind of think that it would be very possible that you would go into the thing and it would be from the outside, it would be like a tunnel or a small tube where everything comes together. But once you get into it, it would be a large, like vaulting open space, like an inner Earth, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, because that's
how could there be more space, you know?
But
there would be huge space if it was like that. Go ahead, Gordy.
You ever wonder if
Yeah, what were you gonna say, Gordy? You interrupted with one word the whole time he talked. You better add on to it.
No, I'm just thinking now. No, well, now I'm
I
just
was thinking Gordy's gonna add on something so good.
So I'm thinking like, so you get up there, right? So maybe it's not even a hollow Earth. Maybe it's just a portal to another Earth. But that other Earth is a mirror of it that happens to be the opposite, which would be inner sphere.
The right side up.
As opposed to outer sphere. But the two realities don't actually mix unless you go through that portal.
Yeah. I mean, Earth could be flat, but it could be stretched around a thing. But when we're on it, it is flat. But then when you go to that place, it curves down and you could see down into like a tube. But when you stand on it, it's flat for you once you go down there. And you're like, wow, it's flat. Like that's how a hyperdimensional shape works, kind of. It's like turning in on itself, and you know,
a Riemann sphere.
Yeah.
Like, or Avatar, I think, does a good job of showing you like all of a sudden the land's also upside down.
Yeah.
Like they also have land in the sky. Or when people say donut shaped, world, or donut shaped Earth, or donut shaped Earth, a lot of the times what they're seeing is that kind of toroidal field of it going in on itself. And so they can see in the inside, you could see land across, but it would be up instead of across in the inside. But we're on the outside of it where there is no land across or up. We're just on the outside. It's such a weird thing to do without a whole bunch of pictures. And I could pull up a whole bunch of pictures, but I liked Jim's. I liked visualizing it with your explanation.
The Taurus is like, it just seems right because I feel like all language many languages boil down to the 3 root words, which are Tor, Adam, and Blee. So like I have a friend who can pretty much understand any language based on those understanding of those 3 words. and or word parts, but it's the torus, the toroidal field, and I feel like maybe that has always been the answer. It just seems like it seems the most absurd, like when you're to me it seemed like donut shaped earth, oh my god, whatever, but now it's like, oh, it's energy though. It does make sense.
Yeah, it's like how a black hole would supposedly work. Everything gets squished into it. And how could all that matter and space be inside of a thing that is, infinitely small if it
Yeah.
wasn't a toroid?
Yeah.
And when you're
Yeah,
in
it
it,
has to
every
come out the other
portal,
side. It
yeah,
has to come
every
out the
portal
yeah.
could be it.
Mhm.
Go
Yeah.
ahead, Gordy.
No, I'm just saying it has to come out the other side somewhere.
well, like your
So it has to
bathtub,
be another.
when you pull the drain in the bathtub and it's got that like vortex that goes to the bottom, and
Yeah.
it's like a
It gets so
whirlpool.
tight, so tight, so tight,
So,
and then it
yeah.
opens up.
But it never comes together. It's just getting it's getting closer by half and closer by half and closer by half. And if something goes not all the way together, if you get halfway to something and then halfway again and then halfway again and then halfway again, you can go infinitely closer, but you're only just half the distance that you were before. So you would never actually touch.
I think there is something to even that this like idea that maybe during certain periods of time or certain stars or certain things that these kind of vortex could have existed in other spots on the planet, and we could have called them like Bermuda Triangle or Devil's Triangle, but it could have just been some portal that water was through it instead of empty land.
Or Rainbow Bridge.
Oh
Yes.
You ever wonder with when they do fracking that they haven't maybe, they say fracking is to bring up natural gases, that maybe it's something a little bit more along the line of, digging into like sort of inner earth, trying to find something a little bit more. And the cover story is to just get natural gases to, help our energy source. But
That or
meanwhile,
they're
every now
building
and
the tunnel system better. I don't know what,
Yeah.
but yeah.
all
But
I know is
even-
it starts earthquakes after the fact.
They tell us
yeah.
like, oh, there's so many ancient grounds underneath that used to be, lava tunnels, like ancient things that used to be ancient lava tunnels. That this is essentially what they tell us all the oil is, there's big, huge caverns that used to be filled with oil until we pump them dry. And then there's caverns filled with natural gas all over that they, spike. And then it's like a huge natural gas thing. So I'm like, who knows? That's just in the surface level that we dig to. So it just seems to me like the ocean, sometimes you just see those whirlpools in the middle of the ocean, where people record them on their
Yeah.
boats, and you're like, what is that? Where does that go? We assume like, oh, that person's goner. But if you never find them again, like, how many people go in sinkholes in Florida that they never find again? Like,
No,
not
is
that
it a
it's
lot?
every
That's what
day,
sinkholes
but yeah, like what if sinkholes are just falling into center Earth?
Oh yeah, like Mel's Hole. You heard of Mel's
Yeah,
Hole?
Mel's Hole. Yep.
Talk about
Crazy
Mel's
story.
Hole. I'm gonna pull
Is
it
that
up.
It's up in Washington somewhere, right?
Yeah. Is that what that show out of or what's it called? It's supposed to be in
Oh, yeah.
Wyoming, but yeah,
Yeah. The ring thing or whatever, the
like
outer range.
bounds
Outer
or
range.
outer range. Yeah. Is it
Yeah.
supposed to be about the hole in Washington, even though it's Wyoming?
I don't know.
I don't know about that. I did watch that, but it
Second
did
season
kind of
is out,
sound
by
like
the
it.
way.
Is it? I watched the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to Medford, Oregon, by the way, to the also no bugs or birds fly there. I thought that was one of the interesting things. That's the place in South Oregon, the vortex that Jim was talking about. And when you look at ley lines on the planet, there is like 4 ley lines that all cross right at this place. So there's this theory that like maybe like when you look at the Bermuda Triangle right off the coast of Florida, there's like 8 ley lines that go across each other at this place. So like what if there's more activity at these certain ley lines that kind of magnetize or draw things into this other, because even that compass in a weird way, if we had nothing else to go on and we all just eventually figured a compass out, it's calling you toward it.
Yes.
There's a place
Very
just like
personal.
that in Oregon, or not Oregon, in Northern California. It's called Confusion Hill, but it's just like the place that you're describing, Jim, like where like time acts weird and all that too. Gravity.
Yeah, there's a few of them, quite a few of them, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Mystery
one in the
spots.
Carolinas. I feel like there's
There's
one
one
in
in
Brazil.
Russia.
Yeah.
And
And
you
like
think-
balls roll uphill.
Yeah.
Someone just mentioned the Alaskan triangle, because interestingly
Oh,
enough,
yeah.
there's I think there's a Kennedy assassination connection with that, where Hale Boggs, one of the members of the Warren Commission, was on a plane and it disappeared. He was on a plane, him and a senator named Begich, whose son wound up writing books about HARP, interestingly enough. But the plane was
That was
never
Russia.
found. Yeah. I think the
Sorry.
plane disappeared in 70, I think it was 72, because that was interesting enough, because that was also the year Watergate burglar Howard Hunt's wife dies in a plane crash while delivering hush money to the burglars. So-
The other thing that we're not going to talk about today, but I still always think it's such a conspiracy, is that missing baby. What's the
Lindbergh baby?
Oh
Yes.
Lindbergh baby.
Oh
Yes.
my
Crime of
God.
the century.
That's a great one.
Yeah, like how wild that that's just something that happened and became this whole big thing, and it's just kind of not talked about at all. That's like with the Howard
Eugenics
Hughes.
of
If
it
I was
all,
gonna, yeah, if I were gonna do like American history show of things you guys need to look at again, it'd be like Helen Keller, the Lindbergh baby, Howard Hughes. It wouldn't be all the conspiracies that people think. I think there's American conspiracies that are just so deep that the rewrite of the history on top of it, how quickly and how important it was for the newspapers to cover the tale. It's just, or things like Amelia Earhart.
Yeah.
Why
And
was
her
it
NPC
such,
name.
yeah, like why was it such a necessity to sell us this bullshit rhetoric of Amelia Earhart? Like some of these people, like why do they even exist in our zeitgeist? This is silly. I don't know.
What's his name? Don Jeffries, great author, has had bunch of books about like hidden history. Like I think he's on his 4th hidden history book and gets into that. That's how I was reading about. He talks about the Lindbergh baby, and one of the people who figured into the investigation was Norman Schwarzkopf's father. I think it was his father. Stormin Norman's father was like a high up in the Jersey State Police.
Even that, because somebody was like, what happened to all the Zeppelins? And I'm like, right? It's like they showed us one video clip of, oh, the humanity. Oh. And then it's just like, oh, that was perfect. That was the best propaganda we could have done. No one's
Totally.
getting on one of those again.
Totally.
I mentioned this before, Chaney, and for you guys too. If you ever see the show Timeless, it was on NBC for like 2 seasons, and it was about, because they have one about the Hindenburg, and it was about this group of people. They get in some sort of time machine, but it's not like not like a DeLorean or anything, but this sort of craft, and trying to rewrite the past. And then they find out that they're up against people who are trying to get there before them to make sure it goes the way they want it to. And the group was called Rittenhouse, which I just found very funny, because this was a few years before Kyle Rittenhouse.
Kyle.
You know what could have really probably made it past the magnetic pole? An airship, a blimp, a Zeppelin.
Oh yeah.
Zeppelin!
And so these kind of ships, maybe they came from the other side. And so maybe a lot of these photos and stuff that we see of this Zeppelin technology that we like theorize maybe is like Tartaria or stolen antiquitech, maybe it's just on the other side.
I've got a
Ooh,
little video
that's
of
very
magnetic braking. If
Totally,
you
totally.
want to see it, let me see
For
if I
sure,
can
for sure.
what's
get
the
that up
series,
here.
Chaney? With the other realities. Damn it.
Sliders.
Jim, you probably know. Oh, Thomas, I'm sure you know. No, the other one with the
The OA?
no, the other one with the chick that with the mad scientist guy who had a cow in his lab for some reason. God,
Oh,
why
I
can't
know
I
which
think of
one.
it?
Fringe.
Fringe, thank
Yeah,
you.
Fringe was good.
Sorry,
I
that
never
was a
seen that.
terrible explanation of it. But there's a bunch of
I would have said
reality
OA
happening.
too. I was with Layla and I didn't know what to say after she said that.
I
But
was
yes,
thinking
OA
Undone, but I don't
too.
know if you guys
OA,
have watched that one or not.
OA too. What? Done?
Undone. It's amazing.
Undone?
Yeah, it's on Amazon
Oh.
Prime. It's like everybody should watch it.
So these are pieces of metal. One of them's aluminum, one is copper, and one is silver.
Oh yeah.
And this
This
is
Ooh.
this is a powerful magnet. This guy is rolling a piece of plastic down to show how something would roll down it. It goes pretty fast. There's no magnetic interference. Here's the copper. This is electromagnetic induction, which is causing the breaking. See it rolling really slow as the field is dragging on it. Here is the silver. It's going even slower. It's more dense. There's more breaking. And then here's the aluminum.
And you got this what
Aluminum's
Oh.
paramagnetic. It's a magnetic induction, electromagnetic induction.
Right.
That's
I've
the
seen the
aluminum.
deal with when you put the copper through a tube, magnetic tube, it just like just
Oh yeah, same principle.
goes. It's really cool.
Huh. It's like it almost makes if we dealt with a whole different magnetism, planes would not fly. Like maybe plane technology was not always there because the magnetism in the ionosphere was not set so planes could fly. So maybe that's why we saw cloth wrapped around wood with a fan. Like maybe there was actually a different day that there was if we've theorized about different suns, different moons, but then I was also thinking while Jim was talking of that idea. Are we just looking up? And is the moon just us looking up through the tube opening all the time?
Interesting.
And so the light of the actual moon itself is like sometimes we can't see because the light source, you know how a light source would, if you had an opening of a well, the way that whatever light source outside the well came in would make the circle that was always there of the well perceive different to you. Sometimes you would see the whole circle, but sometimes you would just see the side of it lit up, or sometimes you'd see half of it. Like, is there an idea that we are in hollow earth? And the thing that like Layla's saying, like it's pointing up, like it's not pointing to something, it's pointing up because we're inside.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Like it's different because the moon moves, so that would be like somehow, but it doesn't say that.
It's almost like the black sun theory in the center of the earth.
Yeah, and a lot to do with plasma of J,
Uh-huh.
J Dreamers with the plasma apocalypse.
Yeah.
It all seems like it somehow ties together.
It reminds me of that weird time movie where they go into the cave and there's different, I don't know which one.
Silver
maybe you guys-
City.
different parts of the cave, the time works differently. And when they go up, they keep seeing like flashing lights, but it's really
You're
just
allowed
the
to have a
sun.
minute, Abby.
Thank you.
Cough for a second or take a drink of water.
That is
I'm
a
good.
thing, though. Time
I
changes.
care about you
as
enough that if we were in convo and it was just me and you, I'd be like, okay, all right, can you talk? Are you okay? I didn't want you to cough before it or struggle if you needed to.
No, I've been doing these stinking blue collar jobs, waxing floors, so I might the fumes.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay. Okay. Well, then
Mm.
you can talk through it. I'm sorry.
I can talk through it.
Okay.
just
It
don't
seemed
have-
like
I
you were
don't-
about to cough.
I'm a
and I
little
didn't want
raspier
you
than
to
normal.
struggle. Okay. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you.
I'm
What were
good.
you gonna say
Go
again?
ahead.
Oh no, I
Proceed.
interrupted your thought.
You know what reminds me of the silver and the induction and the caves that she was talking? It brought me to the Baron Trump's Underground Marvelous Adventures and the Silver City Underground and how everything was all silver and that whole realm was silver. Maybe
Interesting.
that has something to do with like the magnetic, field of it all being in the center.
I wonder if that's under
Oh.
Virginia City. The
Huh.
Comstock lode.
Oh yeah, interesting.
What's that?
It's in Nevada. It's where the one of the biggest deposits of
Vein.
silver, veins of silver was ever found.
Huh.
These people were mining for gold in Nevada, and they kept finding this blue dirt, and they sold their claim because they couldn't find gold. But come to find out, the blue dirt that they sold it for like $500, and come to find out it was like the biggest deposit of silver ever found.
Ooh, lucky whoever found that or bought it or
Okay.
whatever.
So, do you think that there's any chance that the more metal we have, the more magnetizing we are? So, as a country, if we had a lot of change or a lot of bullets or a lot of guns or a lot of aluminum furniture or a lot of muscle
Chains?
cars or a lot of, just the amount of things that America has compared to every other country that is metal.
Aluminum and barium.
Matter that it's been mined and created versus like still in the ground, because there's lots of like ore that is still underground in a lot of places.
But what about being able to control is there as much in the ground still? Like gold, silver, like
Yeah.
Oh,
they say
they
there's
do.
a finite amount of some of this stuff, but it could be replenishable like oil.
Well,
Aren't
what they're
they
doing in
spraying?
Nevada now is that they will they're doing like microscopic mining, so they'll actually just erode like with hoses and stuff the sides of mountains away, and then they're getting microscopic gold particles. So
It's
like little
everywhere.
tiny, yeah. So they're
Holy
just instead
shit,
of getting
man.
like big old
Yeah,
nuggets and
you're
freaking
saying-
chunks of gold, they're just finding the tiniest particles.
That's fracking, like for oil, essentially, like squeezing it out of the rocks, just spraying water and
they're
water
just
and water and
spraying
getting the
down the mountain sides though. So
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
just telling us they're getting natural gas out of it. They could be getting anything out of fracking and just not telling us.
yeah,
And then keep doing it because it's coming up profitable. There's a story. Who is it? Shit. It was about Lyndon Johnson. And so where he lived, one of the authors of a book about him, I think her name was Joan Mellon, said that Lyndon Johnson lived near and had access to this huge gold deposit that was right near his property because he owned this huge ranch, kind of like the way W had the Crawford Ranch. Lyndon Johnson's ranch, which I think was he lived in Johnson City, and there was a huge deposit of gold there. It was a very random sort of thing. I was like, because the only gold I've ever heard of besides obviously California in terms of our government was the alleged gold we stole from Japan with World War II, Yamashita's gold, which they said funded God only knows how many covert ops over time.
Isn't it weird just like constant movings of gold? Like just moving of gold on the planet from one place to another. And then we're all this is where the Anunnaki thing and that philosophy of it does seem important that humans mine gold, think it's valuable, wear it. There's so much that goes into it. It's inside every one of our phones, every one of our computers, inside our shit. But I just think there is something to the theory that they want us to spray down the side of mountains to get the little tiny pieces. It's like somewhere we have to gather all this thing. Why is it so valuable? It's valuable past the point of being shiny. It's because it's usable somehow to them. And that's why it can't be too valuable. It can't be platinum. It can't be, whatever other things that all the other words I couldn't pronounce that are more valuable than gold. So they just have to make it valuable enough to make us keep mining for it. So, but it's just a usable metal somehow to them. It's not the most conductive metal. It's not it seems like it almost melts in the sun. True gold seems like that's why I always wonder too, when there's the whole theory of that there was a city made of gold. That is a theory when people talk about the idea that we used to be under a different sun. If we were under a different sun, a city of gold makes sense. But gold
Was
is
that El
such a
Dorado or something? Wasn't it City of El
no,
Dorado
I think
or
it's
something
way
like that?
maybe that too, but I think way older than that. This is an Indian idea I'm thinking of, where they talk about India idea. Because usually when I say Indian, I mean American Indian.
But what if they knew the alchemy What if they knew the alchemy of mixing gold with other metals to make it stronger and less resistant to the heat? Because I know they do that in jewelry making. That's why you have 18%, 12%, 10%, whatever, 24%, and 24% is
think
like the
it's somehow
purest.
a mocking of what used to be under a different heat source or something. It's like there's a melt of gold. There's something about gold that doesn't really make sense to me of why it's so valuable to us.
And people will put it in food and drink. There's what is it, Goldschlager?
Goldschlager,
Yeah, Goldschlager. But then I think at points in New York City they had food like desserts or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, it's sprinkled with gold." I'm like, why in the fuck would you want to eat that? Like it's gold. But going back to your point about Indians or Native Americans, you almost wonder, like, because they're the ones who get displaced and kind of warning people maybe not to mess with that. Like, people seem to forget the knowledge that the natives had, why certain things should be kind of left alone. And meanwhile, while I'm thinking this, I'm thinking in my head a Stephen King reference, Pet Cemetery. Dead is dead. Don't mess with things. What was the Pet Cemetery on? An Indian burial ground. Like the natives always know, don't screw with this. There's like gold will only get you so far. Oil is boom and bust. There's things, and that after a while it's finite. You're gonna, like, at one point, with oil you hit a dry well. With gold, eventually it's fool's gold. It's not worth what you think it is. But
Is gold magnetized? Is it magnetic?
No.
No, right?
I mean, it's less magnetic. There is a small magnetic force it has, but it does not react like
normal metals.
Yeah.
If you would have asked me before Jim showed that test to me, I would have thought, like, there's no way silver's going to stick on that. Because we have magnets all the time that you test jewelry with, but then you think a metal detector, what's it detecting? Like, it's detecting gold, it's detecting silver, it's detecting copper and coin and all this shit, nickel, and it's like, oh my gosh, what's it using to detect that thing? I gotta imagine there's some kind of magnet inside.
Yep, magnetic fields.
Now here's a quick thing. If, let's say, there's any sort of magnetic energy like in the Earth, think about possibly bringing possibly planes down, or how about, say, the Roswell craft, bringing like an alien aircraft down to Earth or whatnot, like kind of pulling it down, if it's not maybe advanced enough or whatnot.
Or if there's like moving, if this, let's say somewhere with the grid, it's set up with the fixed stars, but the roving planets make the moving portals. Like in the sky, maybe with the sky clock, they know exactly where the fixed portals are on the planet everywhere by that sky. But the moving ones are different times, different dates, different things. And maybe some of them, they have mapped like a dream map where they know what's going to come out. So you get like certain warships to go to a certain place, and two countries that are like always at war. You're like, why are they both doing war games in the sea at the same time? And they're not having issues with each other. Maybe they're working together to battle like something that 11 from Stranger Things pulled out of the astral, like through the portal.
The Demigorgon.
Yeah, that's how I really think that is real life. There is nothing on the show Stranger Things that I don't think is real, that the government
part
had to deal
in
with.
particular is lifted directly out of the Montauk Project book series from Preston Nichols and a couple other guys, which I guess had big falling out. But that in particular story also relates to the Philadelphia experiment. Like, they tie it into all this. Where
I'm not that far from Montauk.
What's that?
I said I'm not that far from Montauk.
Oh, right now? Oh, well, maybe we shouldn't talk about it then.
Yeah, it's all good. I don't mind.
I mean, I grew up my grandparents in Long Island. We used to go there all the time before I even knew what the hell. I mean, we didn't go to Camp Hero, but we went to Montauk.
Yeah, Montauk was the center of all sorts of nasty shit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like chimeras and stuff came out of that. And
I mean, what was it? The Montauk Monster was what, 2008? They found some sort of weird shit that wound up on the beach. And weirdly enough, I wasn't in New York at the time. I was in North Carolina. But I remember it came and people were wondering, maybe Plum Island, because you had that whole
Yeah, I was
thing.
gonna say
Plum
technically
Island,
like the Plum Island monster.
yeah. Well, Plum Island, they eventually, I think, moved to the Midwest. That sort of experimentation, they moved to the Midwest. But that whole thing, I just got what was it? Trine Day. I got books. I get copies to write reviews for, and I got one that's about Plum Island and Lyme disease and that
Oh
whole
yeah.
aspect.
Yeah,
Eric
shout out to the
Traub, who was
Mulligans. I love Trying Day. They like raised me basically.
yeah, Project Paperclip. I just finished Nick Bryant's book, Truth About Watergate. That goes over the whole the prostitution ring that was running right out of the apartments right across from Watergate. But yeah,
That was the real.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, and meanwhile, who's one of the few guys left still talking about Watergate is John Dean, and John Dean is totally up to his neck. Probably gave the order to go into the Watergate.
What were you going to say, Layla?
He mentioned Lyme disease, and I discovered that they're treating people with bee stinging on the spine to help treat Lyme disease, which is freaking fascinating.
Bee
venom. The miracles of bees, yeah, bee venom.
Bees
like
are
you
mad.
take, yes, I think 6 to 12, like 6 on each side of your spine, on the bottom of your spine, apparently, and that helps. The venom helps kill the Lyme disease slowly as you continue the therapy.
But those
Ticks
are acupuncture
are the
points.
Lee Harvey Oswald of Lyme disease. I just want you guys to know we're not allowed to talk about why Lyme disease really exists because we'll get pulled off the channel, but it's all the same reasons. All the same reasons. Pretty much there isn't an ailment you can bring to me that I won't say that's an injury from something that we're not allowed to talk about on this channel because we'll get pulled down.
Yeah.
There
crazy.
isn't one. You got sugarfoot, it's from that. You got herpes, it's from that.
Well, what do they say?
Like whatever it is.
With Lyme disease, I think they say something like about how it could affect, like you can't. It almost creates, in certain cases, an allergy. You can't eat red meat. So that almost kind of fits in
some
with a certain
cases,
agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's terrifying.
Lupus.
I know a lot of
same
people.
from that. It's from the same. It's an injury.
On that same note, Chaney, where like everything is actually something else that you're not allowed. There's a Trine Day book called Dr. Mary's Monkey that like blew my
great
mind.
book.
that was
I was
out
gonna
there.
ask
Edward
you if it was
Haslam.
related to that.
Yeah, that's
Dr.
a great
Mary's
book.
Monkey is great.
That's how that got me rabbit hole. That wound up because the books he mentioned. Because he mentions Mary Sherman. I mean, he dead 60 years this year. I mean, she was connected with David Ferry. And, Ferry dies, and then we talk about how he was working on a cure for cancer. Mary Sherman most likely probably was. And then there's the woman who has been alleged to have been Oswald's girlfriend in New Orleans, Judith Baker. And she said, yeah, they were looking to possibly deliver a biological agent against Castro. And kind of all fits in. But yeah, the Dr. Mary's Monkey, that's how I wound up reading, and the band played on, and the Hot Zone, and like all these books about like biological warfare. But yeah, Trine Day was great. That and A Terrible Mistake, the Frank Olson book, because that's not just about MK Ultra, it's about biological warfare too.
We are in. That's what I think. The biological warfare is the warfare that we're under every single day, but the cause is always in the cure. Whatever thing they try to convince us, they're like, oh, make sure you do this because then you're breathing in the thing. It's not the people next to you. It's this. I just think whatever thing they tell you is for your betterment is always the thing that's making you sick.
And the things that do help magnetize us is the aluminum and barium that they spray on us, like on a daily basis. That's another element that we don't even put into our heads.
That stuff, I would wonder about stuff we're not allowed to talk about on this channel that we know have levels of heavy metal in it. I would wonder about stuff that's being sprayed on us and our food. And then I would wonder, if we do have a magnetized north that we're all under the emotion of and feeling of and everything every day, if what Jim just showed us on that drags all of a sudden, or sometimes it rolls clean, or sometimes it doesn't roll straight, how much inside of us is messed up because if that magnet is being messed with, or
Mhm.
if we're having too much metal in us so that magnet, we don't have a natural flow of it. We're
They're
like
probably
stuck.
even feeding us magnet to like help disrupt our metals in our body.
Well, I
Like
mean,
magnetized metals.
if you look at like
Dropping it from the
orthomolecular
sky.
medicine, which is where they add like the iron, they fortify things. Like, have you ever seen the videos where they grind up Cheerios into like a dust and they'll take a magnet and they'll pull all the little flakes out?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what you're talking about, and that was orthomolecular medicine that started in, I think, like the 40s or 50s by Dr. Abram Hoffer.
That's a fun word to say.
And that throws
Orthomolecular.
the body off.
Orthomolecular.
That has to. Like if you're doing therapy to like hold magnets, you know, in your hands, imagine like ingesting that stuff and some of it's living in your brain, your heart, your organs. Like it can throw everything off. That's why heavy metal cleanse is actually necessary, not only a parasite.
I think so.
I like heavy metal.
Do you guys know what your true north is?
Like right now?
Like my
just in
true north?
general, just in general in life. Do you know what your true north is? Do you
That way.
know something that's like calling you?
Or purpose.
Oh, like my purpose?
Like
Oh,
no
is that what you're
matter
talking about?
what, it's calling you. It's calling you like you're that compass, and it's calling you toward it. Doesn't matter what the other directions are. Do you have a true north? Something that's like been calling you your whole life and will call you till the day you die.
Mine's the spread conspiracy theories.
Shit, he took mine. Damn it.
I know you don't even have to answer it now. I just think it's an interesting question for people. Like, do
Definitely
you
is.
have, and if you don't have it for your always, do you have it for your daily? Like, are you a person that wakes up with the intention of moving toward your true north every day, whatever that may be in the day? And sometimes it may change like 5 degrees to the left or 5 degrees to the right, you know, like whatever thing. But do you, for your own person, have a calling that's bigger than you, that haunts you in a good way? Maybe it's God talking to you. Maybe it's whatever your highest source energy is, whatever you think. But I think it's like past, even if whatever your faith is telling you to do something, like a thing. Like it's like something past, because I do think people will be like, oh, my true north, my wife. Oh, my true north, my God, my Father. But what does that, your God the Father, tell you that you are supposed to be doing with your life? Like, what is the true north purpose of that? Are you supposed to be sitting around and wait until the apocalypse? Are you supposed to be like, you know, saving me with a heroin needle in your arm? Are you supposed to be knocking at people's doors? I think it's just sometimes we have this idea of like our faith being a true north, or our love for somebody else being our true north, or our love even for our children being our true north. But what do you do when they go to college? They still your true north? What do you, oh, I love my children forever. Cool, but that isn't your purpose. That's not your only purpose forever. Like, I
A
don't know.
sense of peace for me. Like, you know, where you can just look around and it's just peace. Like everywhere. Like a calmness, like everywhere. Like a peace.
I think mine's
That's
just
what
a
I
search
seek.
for answers. Just keep searching for knowledge and don't stop with just one book. Keep reading and reading and reading. I think
Are
that's
you
what it
obsessed
is.
with the gnosis? I am kind of too. I feel like I'm obsessed with the gnosis in a way that I never got to touch that apple. I feel like I've been searching for that apple for my whole fucking life. I can't wait to taste it. I can't wait. I feel like all these other words and rhetoric, like when I hear about like, oh, it's because you ate from the tree of good and evil, or the tree of knowledge, or the tree of, I don't feel like I tasted that tree yet. I don't feel like I tasted that tree. Please give me that tree. Please, serpent, bring me that apple.
Oh, I ate the apple of discord in a dream. So
But really, like, who is the person that relayed so much gnosis to you that you felt like, oh my gosh, this is the true north? So it's just like, please bring me the apple. I just think we all have tiny little fragments, fractile pieces of it somewhere.
It's funny that you brought it up because in that context, because there's this, I read this whole book and it was so interesting, and it was about ADHD and how it's not a lack of attention deficit, right? That just means you have a lack of attention. It doesn't mean that you can't develop it. It's just undeveloped. But most kids that have ADHD issues, and we can say that it's an injury, and a lot of times it probably is, but usually it's more along the lines that a lot of kids don't have a north on their compass anymore. And a north being an adult, they usually make it another child because they go to daycare, they're around little, other children all day long. They're not around one consistent person who is the north on their compass, whether it's a mom, dad, grandparent, whoever. But like kids who tend to have a very solid north as an adult north don't tend to have ADHD.
Which is better than giving them pills at an early enough age, which eventually they'll start.
And really comes down to really just hugging your kid in the morning and just like giving them affection. Like that's where it starts. It's like just making them do it right when they wake up, whether they want to or not, and they're grumpy.
Yep.
And that usually makes you their north. And then then they look to you instead of looking to peers to teach them bad habits and bad. Yeah.
Or to adults on the internet or on the TV that they can't hug.
Yeah.
That they can't, that doesn't give a shit about them.
Yep.
And like they're
Or
the easiest ones to grift.
Really kind of doesn't either. So they do, but they don't because it's not their kid.
Everybody else is getting paid to hang out with your kid.
Yeah.
Everybody else. Everybody else. It doesn't matter if it's Mr. Rogers. It doesn't matter if it's the teacher. It doesn't matter if it's the guidance counselor. Everybody else hanging out with your kid is getting paid to hang out with your kid.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, kids feel that. They have a little intuition. They know when adults like, this adult doesn't really want to be here.
So I'm gonna
That's my little kid self. That was my voice of my little kid self.
Instead of spending time with them and then plop them in front of the TV, eventually they're just going to identify with what they see every day. Nowadays it's the computers, it's the Kindles, it's, the iPads, all that shit, the phones. But, as we're talking about this, I literally think of the movie, The Cable Guy, when Jim Carrey says at the end, somebody's got to kill the babysitter, when he's talking about the TV. Like he's not talking about killing a person, he's talking about the TV. It plummets, knocks out the power to everybody, and it's kind of a little bit of a lesson in a movie that went sideways. But
that's such a good t-shirt, is like a shot of broken television and then it's saying, don't tell mom the babysitter's dead.
Oh yeah.
Underrated movie.
Such an underrated movie. Oh, I know she's part of the elite, you guys, but watching Christina Applegate withdraw off her adrenochrome makes me so sad. It makes me so sad. She's one of the people that I just feel like is such like just a person of my childhood, watching her as Kelly Bundy, and then like don't tell mom the babysitter's dead, and then you kind of think she's gone and she has this resurgence as like Cammy D's best friend, and now she's everyone's best friend. And it's like I feel like she would be on Yellow Jackets. Like the only thing that's missing out of the Juliette Lewis Christina Ricci resurgence is Christina Applegate right next to him, and it makes me sad that she's dealing with MS. I feel like that too is probably a side effect of something we're not allowed to talk about on this channel. So
unfortunately,
that kind of shit makes me so sad. I feel like even everything now with Fauci and everything going on, and people, even if they found out the atrocities of this, I feel like it's small potatoes to every single relative and loved one you've ever had that's died of something they did too. Like it's just so many levels to it that it's like so heartbreaking. You just have to be
like where do you begin too? Like
you're like, oh, these adults on this YouTube Schlim channel, let's take them down because they're saying dangerous rhetoric. It's just wild that there is no the more they take me down, every time they banner me, take me down, it gives me validity to what I'm saying. Like the more and more weight, and the more I've leaned in to be like, I think you did this too. I think you did this too. They let me know with their banners and everything that they're like, all this that she's saying and written is totally false. I'm like, oh, this is true.
Yeah.
Thank you for bannering me. I know to dig deeper in this. But good grief.
I
I like
think
saying the thing that we get pulled down the channel is our new word we say for it. Everybody knows.
I mean, if you want to talk about someone who I think has been right, so the first real podcast I got into is Last American Vagabond, and what's happened to him. He's had accounts taken from him. Stripe, Patreon, PayPal, they took his money.
Oh yeah,
Just
I've had
for,
my
you know,
Libsyn audio. Like this is like a podcast before and before. They took my Libsyn money and audio and deleted it. I never heard about somebody losing a podcast. They like took my Libsyn channel and messed it up, and I was like, "Oh, I don't even know where to host."
and he's getting sued now. That's a couple other things, like he's mentioned on the show. He's getting sued now. Like they're literally trying to take everything, and all it's been is questioning, you know, COVID.
Because you get to a point that it's so silly and absurd that you're like, oh my gosh. Sometimes you're like, I really just wish I could. Sometimes I wish I could take the blue pill and just wake up and be like, "Brrrrook," and care about like my 401k.
Sometimes.
And I'm like all bought into like, I need, you know, like the food pyramid and like everything. Sometimes I wish I could just take the blue pill and just be like, hey, you guys, how
For a
about
day.
that football team? Like, yeah, like, hey, you guys, did you
Yeah,
see
terrible.
so and so's like
Can't go back.
new outfit?
So who's
If I had a
who's
fairy
winning American
godmother,
Idol?
if I had a fairy godmother, I wouldn't ask for like a dress. I would ask for the blue pill for that lasts for 24 hours, just to feel like what it feels to be a normie again.
Okay,
You
question.
just shit your pants immediately.
I didn't ask for the Biden pill.
Would
They're
you
like, "Oh,
rather
this is
have
it. This is the one.
a blue pill for a day or a dick for a day?
Dick.
Uh,
I would totally be writing my name. I'd be peeing all over the place. I swear
nah,
to God, I would.
I'd blue pill.
You know what? One thing I think though, with a dick for a day for me, I'd give the worst hand job.
On purpose?
No, I just feel like I'm not great. I could do it like if somebody came in this room and they're like, we're all on an island and they're like, somebody has to suck this dick or you guys are all getting killed. I believe as a group, and you have to put it in order and you better put the shittiest person at the end. I even believe the men would be like, I believe I could suck my dick or give myself a better handy than Chaney. Like I would be the last person. I'm good at so much stuff. I like where I'm good, I'd be like, you guys, I could do this. Like for the group, I could do this. Not even about gross. I'd be like, I think I could do this, but I just don't think I'd be good at it. Like I would want to be good, and then I would be like, I think we're all gonna get killed. Like it wouldn't even be a gross out thing, even if I can get over it. And I'm like, it's not even gay. Like just get over it. Like just get past it. I just don't think it would be enjoyable for the guy holding us hostage. It would probably be painful for you guys to watch.
It's a complicated story how we got to the hostage part, but
Yeah, it is. If you missed it and you just
if you
jumped
missed,
into this
you know,
part
if
of the
you just
show.
came in,
Here's the other little random thing I realized this week. I was talking to my wife in the kitchen and we were talking about like we watched a video. I was maybe showing her a TikTok or something, and it was like a matador and like people getting gored by bulls. I don't know why it came up on my TikTok algorithm. And then I was like in it, I was like, oh, it was like a little clip and we were just watching a few consecutively and like with music, and she goes, oh my gosh, it's so crazy. And I was like, what? And she goes, the bull running at the people once because some of the people weren't matadors, some of the people were just in bull rings for whatever reason.
They're like, I want to
Everybody's
get
first
hit.
instinct is they turn and face the bull head on. Everybody's first instinct, they're
Right.
like, oh shit, this thing's coming in. And most of these things, they had nowhere to run. They realized it too quickly. And so they face this, but as the bull gets closer, they realize how big this thing is. It's like their instincts as an animal are the only things that are there. They turn around and stand on their tiptoes so that when they know the gore is coming, they take it in the ass. Like their instinct is my ass cheeks are not my organs. And so it's like everybody does this. It like the bull's coming up, they're about to get gored, they turn around and they stand on their tiptoes. It's like, and I'm
Damn.
like, oh my gosh, when life gives us something we can't handle, we all will choose to take it in the ass. Like the second we can't realize it, we're just like stop fighting it. Just turn around and take it in the ass.
Well, they do it to kids too. They freaking test, kids with a thermometer, newborns. It's like, what the fuck? Like, that's some weird shit at a very young age, at a newborn baby's age. Like, shove a thermometer up there.
I know, it's wild to
It
me
feels
how
like
long I
like
had
they're
a
a turkey taken anymore.
like I had a temperature gun in welding forever and ever that I could point. I thought it was so crazy when the thermometer finally came out that could point at people's head. That I'm like, this is what we've had this for welding forever. I could shoot, it's a direct laser that I could shoot inside like a small hole to see how hot the metal is inside. So
Yeah.
if you just opened your mouth, I could shoot it inside at the back of your throat and get a pretty good reading on what was going on internally in your body. So
Yeah.
that's why even the forehead thing of them hitting us in the forehead, this is 93.6 degrees, 93.2 degrees, 92.7 degrees. This is not 98.6. And that's the other thing that they did to us. I'm old enough to remember, not only am I from the timeline that the Mississippi flowed in the opposite direction, I'm from the timeline that 98.6 was the normal human temperature. And somewhere before COVID, I don't even know if I could say that word. Somewhere before that, they started lowering our normal human body temperature and said the only reason we were 98.6 forever was because we were all walking around inflamed, but the new body temperature of people was like 97.7. So what they were doing was all automatically making everyone with a normal temperature have a fever. So that if you had a fever, guess what? That would be a symptom for something later on. Check, go test.
So they
And
were
then when
like
you test,
PCR
you're wiping
testing
that
the
something up
thermometer.
in your and then you're putting something right up
What
in
do
your
you
nose.
guys remember? I remember 97 points, whatever it was, 97.8 to be like the normal or something.
I was always below normal for the
98.6.
most part temperature.
Yeah, 98.6 is your, yeah?
What do you
isn't
guys
that the name
remember
of
being?
the boy band? Wasn't it 98 degrees or something?
98 degrees.
Yeah, 98.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
That was because of 98.6.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm on
Yeah.
a different timeline then.
Is this another Berenstain Bears Mandela effect?
What did you
Probably.
say? 97?
Yeah,
You said
97.6 was it, or 7 or 9?
Well, it's
I
like,
don't remember.
what do they talk about with blood pressure? Blood pressure, they say 120 over 80 is normal. And then they're like,
Mhm.
oh, no. Actually, 120 over 80 is high. And like they change the rules all the time. It's moving the goalpost and hoping you don't ask.
They changed it. I feel like over the last few years, what
Fuckers.
Layla says is the new normal for our temp. But
Huh.
what we all come from is almost a whole degree warmer than that. So I just think and I think everybody's temperature fluctuates, obviously, but I think it was just like, and let's lower the human temperature down a little bit. We're going to tell them it's inflammation because obviously we're all healthier now than we were 50 years ago. Like these are the
Mhm.
things too, where it's just like, so with all the seatbelts, all of the no smoking, all of the anti-drugs, all of the smaller sodas in New York, all of we don't live longer.
No, we don't.
So I just think sometimes some of these like little laws are just baseless.
Yeah,
you wanna-
because. Good.
Okay.
No, good. No.
With,
Good.
No, you fucking
when
go ahead over here.
the nuclear meltdown, Fukushima, which I still don't think has actually been contained 13 years later. They talked about the amount of, I think it was called sieverts, like the amount of radiation you could take in, or how much the fish that was coming from the Pacific, how much was allowed to be in. They kept upping it. They're like, oh, this is acceptable. And it worked out well for
They're
us,
still
considering
alive.
the fact it was Obama.
I guess you guys can have a
Obama
little
with
more.
Flint Flint, Michigan, and BP and all these other things that go on. Oh, the water's fine, and I took the kids swimming in the Gulf, and all this other, selling an illusion. But after a while, it's
Remember
like,
the
keep
big
moving
Gulf
goalposts.
oil spill? And I remember it was almost
Mm-hmm.
taboo to question when we could start eating shrimp again. It's like, don't even ask that. That's their number one industry. Don't put that out there. And it was like, but wait a minute.
We eat that.
Yeah.
Ugh, shrimp is one of those things that I'm gonna be real. Like if you have shrimp cocktail or something, I want it. I can't eat a poop line. I can't eat a poop vein. I
know.
can't
I
even
can't
eat it because
either.
it's called that. And so unless the chef cuts that shit open right, I don't want your fucking shrimp.
Same.
I don't want if you are serving me shrimp, do some work, lazy bitch. You just pulled that shit out at like
like
cold.
crawfish.
Like
Ew.
I don't want no poop vein. I don't even want it called that. Like
Hey man, sometimes you just can't afford it. You just eat
every
it.
single person on the planet, every person, if you can afford the shrimp, you can afford
Man.
to cut it down the middle and take the poop vein out.
Well, you do that out the pot yourself with the thumb and stuff.
It's laziness.
So I'm
Yeah.
assuming you don't want bubblegum shrimp. That's out.
I know.
I mean,
go on.
there is. I saw a cartoon. I think it was. I can't remember Tim Dillon's old co-host, but his brother. He had this freaking cartoon that I still get nightmares about, and it's a bunch of like strips, and it's a guy pulling the veins out of shrimp, and at the very end, he's only eating the veins, and he's throwing.
Oh my fucking god, bro!
Dude.
That was a kink, probably. Ew.
That is going right in my vomit data bank, right next to the whale's legs. It will be eating poop veins. I have this like little
Nasty.
vomit bank that plays through my head when
God.
I'm about to throw up.
Nasty. So today on the Gulf, since we're talking about the Gulf, we've had I think 3 or 4 shark attacks today
Jesus.
in like one
Today?
day. Yeah.
No.
So they warned everybody to keep off the water. They did not let anyone swim today after that, the 4 incidents. And one is like in critical condition. One was, I think her arm was taken off, and one got bit in the leg. And yeah, some crazy shit is happening in the Gulf.
I saw there was a sawfish trying to get up on the land somewhere.
Key West.
Like trying to, was it Key West?
Key West, their old, like one of their oldest prehistoric species is like spinning in circles, spinning upside down, almost like something in the water is hurting it.
Yeah.
And they can't figure out what it is. I think it's a sound or something, but
Yeah.
it is
Like
going
sonar?
crazy.
Maybe?
Huh? What'd you say?
Sonar?
Philip? Yeah,
Sonar?
like something underground like that. Like that or
It's
under
that
the
blob
water.
that they've been detecting in by Antarctica. That blob that keeps showing up on the radar and then goes away.
So
It's
at
been
one point
happening
they said
for
it was like a tsunami
past-
or something, and
The
then
alien spaceship
Yeah.
that landed during the eclipse.
past 3-4 weeks. It's been like
Yeah,
showing
where
up on the radar, and now it's shifting towards
On the weather
the other
radar.
side.
Yeah.
And it's
It
shifting
was
towards
going right toward Africa.
Yeah,
Do you
now it's
remember-
shifting on the
They
other
started
side of
sh-
Africa.
They started showing up right after the eclipse. And like, did you guys see that whole video where they were saying that like the eclipse is actually like a aircraft in front of the sun, and then it was landing down by Antarctica, and that's why all those black spots started showing up on the map, on the weather map
Wouldn't that?
that
Wouldn't
they're
that be
burying
a-
in the water there.
Wouldn't that be a trip though? Like that that blob is like what we're seeing is the wake of an actual Titan coming up, like a fucking Godzilla. Like it's the
Now
it's
you're
like the
speaking
wake.
my language, Gordy.
It would be Leviathan, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Or same. Yeah, one of these things. But with Leviathan, Leviathan was just one of the sea creatures. I think this is what the Titans, when you go into like the story like of Godzilla, is that there is more than one Titan.
Oh yeah.
Like where they're huge. And so
Uh-huh.
like not just the
many
Titans that are like,
Titans.
there's like the Titans that are humanoid. And then there's these big Titans in every, so you have like Leviathan, but in Japan, they have this Godzilla, like they can take different kind of things that we know now in pop culture, but they were talked about in mythology. Like a lot
Right.
of the,
A lot of them became the mountains, right? The
Yeah,
Titans.
Well, yeah. Here's the thing. This one guy who actually investigates the blob like every day, he was actually looking at the, I think it's the canal where it connects in South America. What is that little opening that
Panama
connects?
Canal.
Panama
Yeah.
Canal?
Well, he found like what looks like a petrified huge serpent head, like in that part of the
I
world.
saw
I
that.
have to find that video, yeah. And it looks exactly like a fucking huge ass serpent head. And he's trying to
Like a
make the
dragon?
connections. Yeah. Like a serpent dragon. It looks like a snake's head.
Water serpent?
I
Or
don't
it's
know, but
just
it's
even interesting to
ginormous.
think that like the piece of land that was the thinnest piece of land that they were like, okay, let's make the Panama Canal here, could have actually been a huge serpent going across there that they cut through it. And so even that would lean in a little bit to the Anki Enlil, whereas the little eagle versus serpent. So if there
Mhm.
was like, because that's where like that's why Mexico is showing the eagle holding the dead serpent. If you look
Serpent.
at all the serpent worship all the way through Mexico, all the way through South America, even my hand do the serpent like this.
hmm
And a lot of people died constructing that canal. I mean, you know, the construction on with the Panama Canal. I think after we had ownership of it or whatnot, you know, they talked about the people who were working on it. Like, I think they said, oh, it was malaria and this and that. Who's to say it wasn't something more sinister?
Oh
Something
yeah,
more,
like
you know?
like a huge serpent, like anaconda.
Yeah.
Why make that
Tremors.
movie?
Got to get John
Tremors.
Boyd. Get him down there.
People go missing all the
Tremors.
time.
That
Tremors
makes
was a
sense
good
that
movie.
that's happening.
Graboids.
Tremors. The original Tremors is so great.
It is so good.
It's so good. It's Kevin Bacon's only kind of cute movie. Every other one I was like, what is lady seeing? Do I not know what a cute boy is? Kevin Bacon is not
No,
cute.
he was
Thank
ugly.
God for
He has a
saying
weird
that. He's such a
nose.
fucking weirdo. And why does he always play a rapist?
That's what I'm saying. Fuck him.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's some
Sleepers. I mean, come on. Sleepers was that was a creepy fucking movie. Great movie though.
it sure was.
Wasn't he in Flashdance, or am I making that up?
No, he
Yeah,
was in
Footloose.
Flashdance. Footloose.
Footloose.
Flashdance with
Footloose.
Jennifer Beals.
Yeah,
Flashdance
it's like
for
girl.
boys.
Yeah.
That's all Footloose was.
He has a
That was-
punchable face.
And a Kenny Loggins song.
And they
That was
were
that.
That
like,
weird skinny nose. That
Footloose
like, weird
was
skinny
really
septum.
anti-Christian propaganda.
Couldn't stand that.
Yep.
That's what Footloose was as a movie. It was just saying, look at these silly Christians won't even let you dance.
Sissy Spacek. That's what he kind of looks like.
He looks like a lesbian. I love that.
Yeah.
Sissy Spacek, I'm going to tell you as a lesbian, such an ugly woman. She looks
She
like she has
is.
skin pulled tight on her
Yeah.
flesh. Like,
She looks like a burn
Yeah.
victim, doesn't
Well,
she?
that's not like her
Yes,
nose.
not
Is kind
right.
of reminds me of
Who?
Kevin Bacon.
Sissy
nose.
Spacek.
Sissy
Well, why do
Spacek.
you think she was great to
Oh,
play
I don't know who
Carrie,
that is.
You know?
Yeah, her whole life though, I was like, what? Like some people, when people are like, oh my gosh, they're so handsome or they're so attractive, I'm just like, I am not a straight lady, but I just don't get it. But then some people, I'm like, Billy Bob Thornton's sexy ugly though, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I realized the thing about Billy Bob Thornton or a type like him, he just looks like no matter what, he might hit you afterwards and steal your wallet, but you'd have an orgasm.
It's the energy, right? Yes.
Like, yeah, it is the energy. He's like, yeah, bitch, I'll put your blood around my neck, you psycho bitch. I'm kind of turned on by it. Wear my blood too, you
I kind of like
crazy
that.
bitch. Yeah, like there's something about that, just the right amount of crazy.
Yep.
Anyways, do you guys have anything else for poll topics this evening? Do you have anything else to talk about?
Bipolar
Yes.
behavior.
I know, bipolar.
Is that shit that they're talking about
Bolsonaro.
Russia's boat in Cuba, Havana?
Binary.
Is it really there?
The Cuban Missile Crisis Redux.
Is it really there? Or are they just saying it's there? Because,
It's probably a distraction because
you know,
Russia invading the Caribbean. Is what they're saying?
I don't know.
there
There's
was-
just
it
a
was
lot of
just-
shit going down south. A lot of
I
weird
think they were
shit.
saying it was in response to Ukraine, I think, using some of our weapons to hit strategic sites in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it still doesn't matter because I think Russia's still been beating the shit out of Ukraine and
And in
Zelensky.
Florida, I could be wrong,
Mhm.
but we are training Ukrainian pilots all the time at the naval base and at the Air Force. Like we're training Ukraine pilots and they buzz by and their stuff. So it's like it would be weird that we have Ukrainian jets over here and then Russian submarines and stuff over here. Like you guys keep it over there. What do you guys have going on? But it all just
Yeah.
is like as long as somebody's there to take a picture and I'm carrying the right flag, it is very easy for my country to make everybody think that it's that country that did it. That's what I think a lot about these war games that is so crazy that is
Yeah.
just as gay-tarded as British people standing in a line. You think we'd all go to war and just have here's our flag all over our thing so that this guy doesn't shoot at our thing? That's what I feel like we watch on TV over and over again. Like they make sure they let us know these are Palestinians, these are Jews, these are Ukrainians, these are Russians, these are, and I'm like, oh, it's like the football team. We got to see who the Patriots are and who the
Yeah,
Bills
who's
are.
in the silver and black this week?
Yeah.
You know.
And so I feel like every time I'm watching these things, when people send pictures, I'm like, how do you know that's a Jew? How do you know that's a Muslim? How do you know that's a Ukrainian? How do you know that's a Russian? Oh, because either somebody's telling you it is, or they are making sure there's a flag or some kind of rhetoric somewhere, some kind of building, some kind of thing. They can make sure you know this is the team that you're on. So that way you can go to the water cooler tomorrow and, cheer for the college
War
you never
Cup.
went to.
Not the
Yeah.
World Cup, but the War Cup.
Well, one of the interesting things was, right, I think it was in and around 9/11 was when Operation Northwoods got exposed. And that was only because this guy, James Bamford, who covered the NSA, had first exposed them in a book called The Puzzle Palace, was doing research. And he got documents that exposed how the military was during the whole anti-Castro different attempts to kind of handle Cuba, was talking about at one point hijacking a plane and then just, eventually taking it to another area, possibly blowing up a plane and all these things. And I think they just took the blueprints as years went on and just took it for something else. And then you use Operation Northwoods for, say, a Tuesday in September, while under cover of war games going on, same day. Vigilant Guardian and all that other crap they were running the same day.
If they run all the zeitgeist
Correct.
and we are in loops that we will mock, like the older you get, you'll like, oh my gosh, that I have those jeans in my closet still. I can't believe they're back in style. Could we possibly be running on the exact same loop as the pop culture loop, but we're so fucking smart we're not paying attention? So teenage boys are getting perms, the ironic mustache is gone, and the real Burt Reynolds, Tom Selleck is there. So I'm like, okay, we're out of disco, kids. We're in the beginning of the 80s. So in the beginning of the 80s, that's where we got Reagan and we got Gorbachev and we got a bunch of meetings going on. And so, are we sitting in this all again? Are we about to have Russian peace talks again? And so that's where they have to sit in a cabin where two world leaders really even think to that. Two world leaders, we got to let them sit alone. They're going to figure it out. Hopefully they come out of there as if those two guys had any say so. It's just wild to me, the amount of ridiculous stuff over and over again that could we be watching with music, fashion, whatever, that we're about to do that exact same reel in history again. And they show us because they dictate fashion and music.
I'll throw a pop culture
So
part
we
in
start
that.
dictating fashion and music to them.
Huh?
So we start dictating fashion and music to them.
I know. I
Use
don't
their
think
art form. That's what Thomas
Dance
is
to your own
doing.
drum beat.
Before, in and around the time the whole Russia, the Hillary Clinton, the whole reset that went batshit and all that stuff, in 2013, FX premieres a show called The Americans, about sleeper agents in the United States, written by and created by former CIA. One of the episodes was written by a former lieutenant colonel, Oliver North, and talking about how the Russians in this story are the good guys, but how eventually they kind of become disillusioned with everything. And the show ends, I think it ended in 2017, 2018. and now we're back to the Cold War again.
Huh.
You know, it's kind of like, once again, we just kind of like, we just flipped it. And now we're dealing with, as opposed to a Reagan and Gorbachev, we're dealing with Biden and Putin.
And Trump.
And Trump. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'd rather go Trump and Putin than
Mhm.
Can we
Biden
just send Dennis Rodman in to fix this one too for us?
No, we got Steven Seagal. We got Steven Seagal.
Steven Seagal.
Oh, that's right. Wasn't he just in Russia or something, getting an award or?
Steven Seagal, a self-admitted CIA agent.
He's begging for them to hire him. He tried to be a cop. They're like, please, Steven, will you just take your badge and go away?
Not a
Well,
good
if
actor.
If he's not connected, he just is on the fringe, because he connects to that whole octopus story, that whole American conspiracy that just aired on Netflix about Danny Casolaro. Steven Seagal cast Robert Booth Nichols, a guy who was definitely CIA, had a copy of the Zapruder film where the driver of Kennedy's limo shoots Kennedy, you know, an obvious misdirection video, and then dies, and allegedly dies, and they find a $250 million treasury note in a safe deposit box. You know, like Seagal, I think, was later on involved in that whole, what was it, the Anthony Pelicano, the guy who was the private eye to the stars, that whole case, and being extorted by the Gambinos and all this other stuff. So Seagal definitely, if he wasn't directly connected, was like just managed to be like a Forrest Gump, popping in and out of all these crazy scenarios. No, and yes, he can act. I mean, that's a given. I mean, you know, there's the story with who is it? I think Charlie from Macroaggressions tells the story of Seagal going up to, I think it was one of the Under Siege movies, and he's like, I just read the greatest screenplay of all time, and they're like, who wrote it? Me. You know, like that's, and he's, you know, I mean, the guy who's the most hated host of Saturday Night Live ever, and just a total misogynist.
He beat the shit out of Kelly LeBrock.
Oh God, yeah. Or, hit on Katherine Heigl, who I think was like a teenager during the second Under Siege movie, and yeah, total perv.
Katherine Heigl, though, she ends up getting in trouble because she ends up outing a whole bunch of Hollywood people. I think Katherine Heigl's career goes to hell because she does this movie with Seth Rogen about like knocked up, and she says shit about Seth Rogen and like the set and Judd Apatow, and she says something about them being creepy. Career down the tubes. Like she was about to be a movie star, and then I think she never even was the main star on Grey's Anatomy again.
Well, she also shit on that too. She said one year she didn't submit herself for an Emmy because the writing wasn't that good that year for her character.
So it's the higher you get in the realm, is the more secretive you are. The more you don't tell, the higher you get into the or up the ladder. So the more secretive you are, the better pawn or puppet you are.
If you don't give up the formula, you can go.
Don't kiss, don't tell.
Sky's the limit. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
What about if it is all frequency and it is all, what if there's just something like the amount of ores that are going on at the planet, the crystals underneath you, the thing, that's the frequency that's radiating in that place. And so there used to be a time that all these elements were like literally in all the waterways. So when we drank that water, think of how different our water is than it going through these rusty or plastic pipes. We were drinking stuff that was coming out of silver, copper, metal, different metal lined waterways that had crystals and diamonds and rubies and emeralds all in them too. And so there is just something like, even just if that stuff was in the ground, if you could afford to put gold in your garden, what would happen to your stuff? So what if the gold was always just in the ground in finite pieces and we didn't take it out all the time?
Yeah, a lot of people use copper. They take copper and wind it up and put them in their garden, and I forgot what it does, but I mean they like copper it up, and it just helps the growth of all the plants.
That's what I wanted to ask Jim. So Jim, why do you think that? Because it seems like silver is obviously more conductive than I would think than copper. Why don't we use like silver filament in wire?
I think silver is less conductive than copper. Gold is pretty conductive. Yeah.
So the magnetism doesn't
Remember-
necessarily like
Is somebody
mean that it's more
peeing right now?
conductive.
Aluminum is even more conductive.
Okay.
Well,
He broke his seal.
I know. I think
Awesome.
he
Oh
was
my
going to
God,
Hollow Earth.
Awesome.
Well, it's a first for
wasn't
us on the show.
That's fantastic. And it wasn't
We have
me.
no problem with people
It wasn't
peeing
And it
as long as they're
wasn't
not drinking their
me.
piss.
Yeah, you're allowed to pee. Just don't drink your pee.
All right, I had my Naked Gun moment there. Sorry about that.
Absolutely. Naked Gun moment.
Do you want to take a dinghy? No, I took that
Awesome.
at the press conference.
No, thank you.
That was just for Abby. That was just so he was writing his name.
I love you.
I'm so much penis envy right now. Damn
I
it.
know, and he didn't write just Phil.
Same.
He wrote Philip.
In
I
cursive.
would still be writing my. I would totally be doing cursive.
I wonder how much power, like if you pee outside, like you could just pee, but what about if you peed in a rune shape or a sigil?
Oh yeah, sigils.
Yeah,
Pee
like
your
if
girlfriend, like the girl
Uh-huh.
you want to date's name, like you
Yeah.
love spells their pee.
Yeah, like why aren't dudes doing love spells for her? That this is if I was a straight lady, I'd lay in my man's nook and I'd say, "Honey, have you ever pissed my name?"
So romantic.
But do you think it would be more romantic if you were a girl and you attempted it for your man? Like you're at the
Maybe.
beach and he's like, "What are you doing?" You're like, "I'm trying to pee your name." Like you're at the beach at night and he's like, "Hold on, I'll be right back."
I got a J.
Like, is this yoga? Is this some weird yoga or Tai
It's just
Chi or
like,
something? I don't know. What
it's like
I
a
just
did
did your
you
first
doing?
initial.
I'd be like the Owe. I'd figure out the dance moves of the Owe writing my name.
Oh, there
That's
you
what I
go.
feel
Yeah.
like. It's totally OA dance move. Oh my gosh, what about that is where some ancient dance came from? They
Oh,
were
I think.
like,
Oh, yeah. I
"Okay,
think that's
ladies."
the thing.
Maybe
All
with their
ancient-
menstrual. And let
I-
the menstrual
I-
drip.
No, I really believe that. Like, there's something in folk dances like that. You can see there's threads of folk dances that seem like they come from. They all have similar movements. Like even separate cultures have supposedly separate cultures have like a some kind of hula or hip dancing. You know, like belly dancing is kind of hula.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is off topic, but because we were talking about peeing, do you know what they used to do with fermented
Okay.
piss? Like if you took your pee, your morning pee, Abby told me this, and I was
Yeah.
like, "What?" Tell everybody,
Like
Abby.
ancient people, Native Americans, and all the ancient tribes, like white was a very it was a very important color because it didn't show up. Like it's hard to dye something white, right? You have to take the color out of it. So if you saved your morning piss for a long time, your first morning pee, and you let it ferment, you let it sit outside, and you let it get warm so it's thick and fermented, you could stick leather in it and you could turn leather white. So it's just straight ammonia at that point. Like,
Oh.
And I was
that's how they.
like, "What
You
are
wouldn't
you
want to
guys
drink
doing to
fermented piss
yourself?"
because you're just drinking straight ammonia.
You
more
said
or
it gets
less.
thick.
Yeah. It will
So-
get thicker.
Interesting.
Like not
It's
like
actually a leather-
gelatinous, but it will like
Because the
This is-
water is
the
evaporating.
water will
Syrupy.
evaporate out of it. Yeah, more
Be
syrupy.
This is a
syrupy.
normal.
Girl,
This is a normal.
Layla and
leather.
don't you say syrupy again talking
Syrupy.
about morning piss.
Syrupy.
It transformed into a golden syrupy
You have to
elixir.
say-
I was saying this
You
is
have
what
to
you
say
use
like
to wash
this.
down the
Syrupy urine.
I like
Is
how
this
he
why
gets
Howard
those.
Hughes kept jars of his own urine?
Oh yeah, Howard Hughes did keep jars, but I actually believe like when they were like, "Oh my gosh, he was so paranoid. They were listening to him. They were
God, yeah.
like taking all his trash. They were like
Mhm.
wanting to know what he eats and like they were dissecting his shit to figure it out. So there are parts where they're like, this guy's crazy, but they were actually doing all the things he said. So are you paranoid if they are doing that stuff?
No,
Or would
they
you put
wanted
yourself in a
access.
theater? Because he also would talk to different people and have big ideas. So I believe he put himself in a theater where there was also a constant buzzing noise so he could have conversations without being recorded because he thought every room was bugged because they were always spying on him. So I think the same way, like having a record company or a record studio, that's a perfect spot for us to talk shit. If we're the mob and we know everything's being recorded, then we go into the place, we put the music on what needs to be put on, and then we go in the sound booth. And so that's where I think a lot of these like movie time people, it's like, oh, but I got my special theater when the lights on, no one come in there because you'll ruin the film. It has to be, I'm doing this stuff. But really, what a perfect way for me to run spy operations. Don't come in there. And then to get everyone down, they just come up through the tunnel in the floor. It's easy
And
part
Hughes, I
cheesy.
mean, like a Tesla guy who has a brilliant mind, they want access to it. You know, so in the end, they could have furthered his craziness. I mean, we don't even know. I mean, I haven't done a FOIA on a guy like a Howard Hughes, but it's like God only knows how huge that file is between CIA and whatever they have left from
If
the
in our junk
FBI.
DNA and his dad was like a drill bit master and figured out some way to go through terrain that other people couldn't dig through, rocks people couldn't get through. He learned shapes and how they had to go in different contortions, and like even Layla was saying, like a shape of a magnet, like, oh well, we can take the same metal that's typically soft and we can just change the shape of it a little, and now look what it does. And so if his father was already this, then that junk DNA, I kind of think maybe some of that stuff is like, I always think every invention is just floating by us all the time, but some people have a better antenna and more gumption. And I think that kind of stuff too for brilliant minds. They have a better antenna and more gumption. Like that, it's their true north. You're not a Nikola Tesla sitting in your thing with your journals by yourself unless something's calling you to do all that. You're not a Howard Hughes unless something is calling you to do all that. Bigger than money, bigger than country, bigger than, it's like something is calling these people, but it may be called their father too, and their father's father, their mother's mother, or whatever.
Do you think
Like,
the same thing applies to fuck ups? Like there's like like the same way that there's a good idea floating in the air, there's also like a really horrible idea that's just gonna fuck the
Generations and
first person
generations
that
of
claps
shit.
on it.
Do you think
oh yeah.
people are
Gotcha.
just searching for eternal life so they don't die and they don't face death? Is that what everyone's trying to, like, all these famous minds? Like, they were searching for something, but you're searching for something to escape something or not deal with something. So is that what they were trying to figure out? How did it, like, escape death and not die and live forever? Or
I think they all want to fuck
some...
their clones.
To me,
Because
like,
they don't.
I'm just like the idea of the unknown, of like getting on a pirate ship and going to discover something isn't because I want to leave anything here. It's because I believe there's still gnosis that they're either not telling me or that hasn't been discovered. It's like a calling past that. Like, I believe there's a hollow earth. If I had an infinite amount of money and was allowed to dig in it, what would I do about it? And so I feel like with these guys, when you get to even like the Elon Musk, maybe he believes there's a firmament, maybe he believes in Mars, but he has enough money. Let's just, if he isn't just a puppet of the CIA or Mossad or whatever is going on, like he has enough money, he can get there. Like, whatever that same pirate ship that existed way back when the earth was flat and then you could fall off the edge. But I want to know for sure. Like, I want to see the edge. It's like something draws us, like, but not everyone. I think most people live and die within 50 miles of where they were born.
Yeah.
And you get those who are searching for knowledge, and then you get those who just want the challenge, the continuing challenge. Tell me I can't do something, I'm gonna, becomes like the show Lost with John Locke. Don't tell me what I can't do. I'm gonna build this. I'm gonna build, like in Vegas, they talked about, what was it, the Stratosphere, the one that was the casino that had a roller coaster on top. And it was like at the time the tallest like casino, and a guy named Bob Stupak built it, and they thought he was nuts. He did it. Or Circus, having a high wire circus act over the casino floor. You know, Steve Wynn, the guy who I just finished reading his biography and eventually got me too because he had a problem. Built every casino had to be better, no matter what he did. Had to keep building bigger, better. The Bellagio not good enough. He needs to do the next step, you know, and even eventually putting his own name on it, you know, and I think was the inspiration for Andy Garcia's character in the Ocean's 11, you know, that whole trilogy and
The
whatnot.
Winchester House. That one's kind of wild.
But
What's
yeah,
that?
the just
the lady who was like heir to the Winchester fortune, she like the guns, she felt guilty about it, and so she kept building onto her mansion like for the lost souls, the people who died from guns, and it's in California.
That's crazy.
I think another thing too with these elite is they can only sell their houses with each other or make them landmarks because they're attached to tunnels. So that's why like the Hiltons are real estate moguls and they can't just sell their properties to each other. So the brother-in-law gets in a fight with them and he becomes a real estate mogul. So it's just like, I think that's why Britney Spears would have Brittany Murphy's house. Yeah, rich and famous, but also some of them had entrances to the nursing home or the daycare or the synagogue or the something down the street. And we're finding out all these tunnels exist all the time. Or the Comet Ping Pong. That was just because of the stuff I'm not allowed to talk about. I'm like, let me try this one.
What do you think? What was it? Laurel Canyon, that whole area in California. How many things, you know, revolved around tunnels? I wonder if there's tunnels under Cielo Drive, you know, where Sharon Tate and Roman Polanski lived, and eventually, what was it?
This is how are you
Oh,
going to
yeah.
tell me you are? We know this for a fact that Warren Beatty, that Jack Nicholson, that James Caan all have tunnels to the Playboy Mansion, which I would say the Playboy with the tits and ass and 18-year-old girls is all the front for the underage shit that you have to ask for underneath. And that's why the original Playboy Mansion that was built in Chicago, all cameras, all, you know, it's a honey trap. And then so they built the same one in New York, and then they finally built the mansion in LA because it's all starting to take off. So you're telling me there's tunnels to this place that we all know exist. This woman who hung out at the Playboy Mansion all the time, Roman Polanski was boys with these same boys, and he was the only one without a tunnel there. I just find it hard to believe. Like the same as Lee Harvey Oswald, Charles Manson was Lee Harvey Oswald of Hollywood elite cutting Sharon Tate's baby out of her belly. And something else in that whole thing, somewhere, this is the sickness. Somewhere we watched the celebrity that was once in that belly. Somewhere we watch her, we worship her, we sing her songs, whatever the case, we vote for her for something. I don't know what her role is, but we all get to see that adult every day now. And that's somehow that's the kind of sick shit I think they're up to. Like that would be a mocking of more so than, hey, you guys, Jennifer Aniston's a man and you guys all like friends and cut your hair like a man. Ha ha.
Sharon Tate kind of looks like she kind of looks like Gwyneth
Ha
Paltrow.
ha, you jerked off to a secret dick.
I mean, we're still debating the exact motive. I mean, you know, the whole motive that Bugliosi went with Helter Skelter was totally made up. You know, people were saying, was it a drug hit? And they talked about all the people who were at the Tate Polanski house. They talk, you know, Jay
Then
Sebring,
look what Polanski
Sharon Tate's
happens
ex.
later. I believe what happens later that the world gets to know about is almost a shaming. Like I believe
With the 13-year-old.
Yeah, I think we all know too much about this. This is the way, like somewhere he didn't play ball, and then he got ousted. And this is
you mean
where
like Woody Allen?
it becomes super political to me that you have to leave the country.
Yeah. But we'll honor you at the Academy Awards.
Even though it happened in his hot tub and it was procured by Jack Nicholson, but he still gets to be a hero.
Yeah.
Well, here's a weird thing. So they do Chinatown, right? And that's Polanski. I mean, I read the book about it. I forget what it was called. Really good
Big
book.
Trouble in Little Chinatown.
Might as well have been, but it's they talk about the making of it, and at the time, Nicholson's acting opposite John Huston, who is like the heavy in that. John Huston is the father of Angelica Houston, who Nicholson's dating at the time. John Huston was also friends with a guy named George Hodel. George Hodel has been named as like the lead suspect in the Black Dahlia murder
Oh yeah.
because he was like a doctor in
Who's
LA.
the doctor?
They said he was like performing illegal abortions. They believe he killed his secretary. They believe he also slept with his daughter. Like there was a whole incest trial. The daughter winds up becoming friends with Michelle Phillips of the Mamas and the Papas. And there's whole weird shit there. They
And
have
wasn't it his son that spilled the beans on him? He wrote a book about it,
Steve,
right?
Steve
Yeah.
who was a cop. Yeah, did Black
Yeah.
Dahlia Avenger. Because and that whole story has kind of just gone crazy because eventually he starts saying, yeah, my father was also the Zodiac and all these. You almost start wondering, was he on the right track? And then he decided to go a complete another batshit way. You know, like the
But
whole
look
truth.
at that same exact thing for Patton Oswalt's wife. I believe
Oh my
she
God,
got
yeah.
too close. I believe they kill
Michelle
her.
McNamara?
I believe
Yeah.
he's such a creep anyway,
Oh,
and
he's a
probably
weirdo.
a pedophile that
Go around.
now I'm watching him with a little girl that he gets to raise. And I'm like, isn't this a perfect setup for a creeper?
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
this is pederast shit. This is
Yeah.
like, this is how they do it. This is Anderson Cooper
Gross.
having a baby, or like, this is how I'm like, what? How does this creep get to? I sat in a radio station with Patton Oswalt once, and one of the things that I was like, this bitch showed up in his robe. And like he didn't care, like he was Jack Nicholson of celebrity. I'm like Patton Oswalt, and
Ugh.
he's like short, like a short guy, short, like where
Yeah.
you're like, oh, he's a midge. Like, anyways,
Hmm.
yeah. So I believe he had something to do with his wife's death, and
And he remarried
buried.
within a year after.
Yeah,
the
I
wife
think he
dies?
also buried the real truth because I believe they were going to find out the truth about Robin Williams. I think nobody wants to talk about how much he looks like the Golden State Killer in the drawing. A young Robin
Yeah.
Williams. And when you go overseas, if he was in Good Morning Vietnam, I don't know how many people died in Vietnam while he was filming. So there's a lot of stuff like that too with these certain celebrities that I'm like, if it was a celebrity, then you can almost like, oh, and the murders stop, and then the celebrity, because they're filming somewhere else, and then they question
Yeah.
if the murders are going again. I'm like, this is more Mendy. And like you can see the Zodiac Killer, all of the, or not the Zodiac, the Golden State Killer, the drawings of him with long hair, the drawings of him with short hair, the drawings of, I'm like, I can show you that same picture of Robin Williams.
There's also a really weird thread with
That might have gone too far for some people because I know you guys like to worship the original Mrs. Doubtfire man in a dress, but come on.
Yeah.
Red Scarf Club. Come on. Sorry.
No, you
No,
win
I
there,
love that
Chaney.
stuff. I mean,
Sorry.
it's definitely an interesting story. And of course, Robin Williams was with John Belushi the night he died when he did the cocaine and was it cocaine and heroin, and so was Robert De Niro. They left
John
early that night.
Belushi. He's Albanian.
Yep.
Oh, look it. He was probably murdered by those two dudes.
Well, there's been a lot of pictures lately with De Niro and Polanski, and of course, De Niro got named in some sort of prostitution ring in Europe years ago.
And
Yeah.
De Niro's been screaming his hell little high hat off outside the
yeah.
Trump trial.
Oh my God!
Yes, yes.
Never would have thought the tough guy would
The
be
lady
such
does
a
protest too loud.
ugh.
prick.
Robert De Niro was the cuter Al Pacino. What happened? Why did he turn into such a little bitch? Why a pudgy mudge?
Busy mush.
All right, I love you guys. Do you guys have anything to plug this week before I plug Jem and the spiders? But I'm gonna let Jem plug them. But anyone? Paranoid American? Fun stuff?
Yeah, we were talking about kind of like nerd magnet, electromagnetic fields and stuff. I just posted a video that I did with Matt Rife where we break down one of these things called a chi shield that's supposed to like protect you from EMF frequencies
cool.
and like all it's supposed to do all this cool stuff, and it says it like comes charged for 5 years. Anyways, we break the entire thing down, he disassembles it, and we find some really interesting stuff in there. So if you want to watch that, you can go to my channel on YouTube or on Rumble and
Cool.
just search
Oh,
for
cool.
Chi Shield with Matt Rife.
All right.
Awesome. And maybe someone will plug it in the chat if they're sweet enough and feel like it. No pressure. Anyone else? Philip, you have any appearances you're going to be making or stuff?
I'm gonna be Tuesday night. I'm doing an interview with the Occult Rejects, doing the Clinton body count.
Oh, good one. Really
So,
good.
yeah.
And where can everyone
That'd be good.
follow you? Any of your social medias you want to? Because you guys, for real, like he knows so much stuff. He's also hangs out in the Project Chaney Telegram. But yeah, shout out your social medias for people to follow you.
On Twitter with Vic Foster, and a lot of times if I'm not responding to your tweets or some interesting stuff, I'm dropping my book reviews and things like that, and it's really about it.
Nice.
Yeah, not on Instagram. I kind of went off that, but yeah, basically Twitter's where I'm at most of the time.
Well, thanks for hanging out again.
Yeah,
man.
Thanks for having me.
Layla, do you have anything going on?
No, not for a while. No.
Abby,
Catch me on Tuesday on Blue Collar Mystics. I do this every time. See, it's like a block I have, so now I can't ever do it right.
Blue Collar
Tuesday on
Mystics.
Blue Collar Mystics. We're doing our last episode of Transurfing Safari, where we're working our way through the whole giant book of reality transurfing.
Mhm.
And then maybe Abby's gonna come hang out with me on Project Chaney, and I'm gonna make her give me the dummy cliff notes of what she talks about over there, like I like to do. So she'll come hang out with me soon, hopefully, and do that. Gordy, do you have
Nice.
anything going on?
You never know where I'll pop up.
Fair enough. And Jim, where can everyone find you doing stuff similar to this, except all sorts of topics? They can, if anyone likes this platform style, what are you up to?
Every Saturday night, we are live on the Weaving Spiders Webs YouTube channel and Odin's Alchemy on Rokfin. We weave.
Yeah.
And it's super awesome. If you guys
It's so
haven't checked
fun.
it out, you can probably find most of us in the room somewhere on the show. A lot we hang out, and you never know where Gordy will pop up.
You never know.
You never know where we'll pop up. There was a pay-per-view this week, or I probably would have popped up. But sometimes it's for the best because I was on one, Ben's on one. I'm like, oh, like sometimes I feel like they saved us from being on air together and lighting the
Jim,
world on fire.
I gotta say, congratulations on being the first spider to make it on our actual channel.
Oh yeah, you're the first one to make it on the real channel because for some reason,
Oh, yeah, that's
right
right.
before every other spider was supposed to come on, we lost the main channel. So
Oh,
you're the
wow.
only one that has actually made it
Spider
to
magic.
yeah,
Mhm.
it is. All right, you guys, we love you so much.
Love you guys.
Thank you for
Love you
hanging out with us as always. And yeah, guess what? Just tonight, maybe we'll live in your mind.
Britney Spears, can we be saved? God, why is Satan controlling the universe?
What we used to think we knew is constantly explore the view of possibilities come true. So what we do is call out to the good guys. Good guys, good guys, good guys. Witches, widows, mega mistakes, entertaining, calming linguists. Good guys. Forum of decorum needs a secretive society to advance on philosophies intentionally, magically good guys. Good guys, good guys, good guys. Witches, weirdos, mischief making. It's okay to change your thinking. Good guys. Good guys, good guys.
Bunnies. Hi. Okay. Of course she's starving for the most attention because she's the youngest. give me attention, please. Now, Sarah, you're very stuck up. And you're too cool for school, I get it. Jesus Christ, be nice. Girls, be nice. No fighting.